aimed at children, because it's not.
Pre-show's gone live, sir.
Okay. I just heard a beep. What the hell is going on? Who's blowing up?
We're going live. That's what's happening.
That doesn't explain a beep.
The beep was the indication that, bink, we're connected.
I don't know if I believe you.
Yep.
Nah, I think you just armed some explosives.
Do you want to join me after the stream and hanging out and playing Captain... not Captain Underpants. It's Captain Spirit.
Captain Underpants. I loved that book when I was a kid.
Yeah, so did my little brother.
Man, it was so fucking cool. I loved it. I read it after reading Frankenstein and before reading Dracula from Bram Stoker. Stroking. I don't remember the guy's name. I know it's Bram, his first name. I was a weird kid.
I can totally see you now.
Also, that book about the electromagnetics, explaining the physics of electromagnetics. That was a fun book.
Nah.
Electromagnetics are fun. Also, there was one part about quantum physics, and that was interesting. Quantum physics are interesting.
Like
I'm just picturing Hickey at like 4 years old sitting there fucking reading fucking
quantum physics books.
Yep. This is like, yes, interesting. I see.
Already got a couple of people watching on Periscope and Mixer. How about that?
Sorry, people on Periscope, there's no one fighting here. Not yet, at least.
Testing. I mean,
I mean physical fighting. Not verbally fighting. I mean like literally beating each other up.
Oh, okay.
Someone busts through my door.
I mean, we can meet in person and fight.
Yeah, that'll finally be a reason for you to stream on Periscope.
I mean, if we ever meet in person, I'm back. We're gonna fight, but I'm already counting on that. And I need to buy some new knuckle dusters. Hey, you're bigger than me, so I need an advantage. It's either a knife or a knuckle duster. So I let you choose. I'll let you choose when it comes to us fighting.
Jesus fucking Christ!
Yo, man, the Brazilian life.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. You're just making me not want to meet up with you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get stabbed.
No, I'm just gonna steal your wallet. Probably it's not.
I don't carry a wallet.
Oh, then. Well, I guess I'll have to shank you then. That's the only option left.
Well, you brought this on yourself.
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, you have a phone. I can get a phone and the shoes.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So I guess I won't shank you after all.
I'll give you my phone, and I'll give you my shoes, and I'll just walk home, and I'll fucking disable my phone because fucking fuck you.
Yeah, there's ways of getting over the blocking of someone's cell phone. That's why they keep stealing it, because you can get past it.
I know, but it's not a blocking. It's more of a wiping of the entire thing. So ultimately, you can still get it.
I can still sell the phone.
Yeah, you can.
I don't care about the data.
Obviously, that's not. But again, that wouldn't really be my thing. That wouldn't really be my problem. Whether or not you can sell the phone is up to you. I just don't want you to sell my phone with all my data. It's like fucking.
You guys ready to get this going here?
Yeah, I guess so.
Hickey?
Yes.
Ready to get this going, man?
Sure.
All right.
Just give me the call.
Okay. Am I doing the intro? That's what it sounds like.
Probably.
Warn us with a wait, like a week.
Not even
before the
necessarily a
podcast.
week. You just have to fucking drop like, okay, one of you guys are doing the intro this time.
All right, Tori, you're doing the intro this
Yeah, and
time.
I'm like, okay, 2 minutes to start recording. Do the intro, you. You're like, wait, what? What? No, I'm not prepared. I didn't study for this.
I'll do the intro this time since I have
Harold,
the quest
it's
update
the
anyways.
same thing. We do every time.
I hate my.
That depends. Oh, when we have guests.
I think I broke a bone in my hand. It's hurting a lot.
What did you do? Did you get that
Shit.
mad that what's his face is being sold to
No,
Everton?
I was going to close a drawer and hit my hand at the table, and it's a metal table.
Oh, that's too bad. Sorry to hear that.
You must have hit that very hard.
Yeah, apparently it's hurting a lot, but it's fine. It's just a rush of adrenaline.
It's fine, and at some point the cast you just look down and go, oh my god, my hand is completely blue.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, JD, count us down.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Red Leaf Retrocast Anime Cast. My name is Tori, and I'm here today with JD. How you doing?
I am here. It's good to be here.
That's good to hear. And I'm also joined with the Brazilian. No, wait, Mexican. The guy, you know the guy, Hickey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. Doing fine.
That's good. That's good. Everyone's doing fine. Yeah, and this is episode 29 of the Anime Cast. And today we're going to be talking about Future Boy Conan. So I know JD is excited about this one.
Damn right, it's about time I got an anime that means quite a great deal to me in my anime fandom. I can't take credit for discovering it. That would go to another anime podcast called the Anime Addicts Anonymous. They talk about that show at nauseum whenever they mention a show from the 70s, but that's okay. We're going to take all the credit from now on.
Yep, you heard it here first. We discovered it. No one else knew about this one before. Never. So yeah,
I'm usurping the credit.
It's mine. So yeah, basically we're going to be talking about that at the end of the cast, like we always do. But before that, we're gonna kind of quickly have like our review of the spring 2018 anime season and kind of talk about what we're watching or highlight some things we're watching from spring 2018 anime season. We were supposed to do this, separately and earlier, but things kind of got in the way. So we're doing it now. So hopefully you'll enjoy. And yeah. So before we get into anything, anyone have anything they want to say? Any stories they want to share?
Yes.
Ooh,
All right,
I like
he's
that
got
you
a
ditched
story?
our. No, I just want to point out you ditched our last gas saying things get out in our way of doing the spring separate from summer 2018.
Hickey, here's the thing.
Thanks, brains. Thanks for ruining our plans. Thank you
Hickey,
so much.
Hickey.
Hey,
Listen.
it's your doing, not mine. I'm just
No.
pointing out.
I'm not taking that. That no one needed to know, but you were the one who brought it out. You're the one who points it out.
No. It's you who did it all, dear guest. How dare you?
No, man.
How dare you? You
Remember.
call him a thing.
Hold the fuck on. Okay, remember, this is all Hickey saying. He is delusional. I didn't say any of this.
What?
I just said.
Just rewind the fucking tape, you piece of shit. Don't go putting that on my shoulders.
All right. Well then. So yeah. Nothing else. No one has any stories. Nothing exciting happening in their lives.
In terms of anime, I just Right Stuff is having this crazy anniversary sale.
That they are.
If you're not familiar with Right Stuff, it's It's an anime outlet online store, and they have crazy anime deals, be it manga or anime DVDs, Blu-rays. And I just got my newest order in between the two, in between the show and the last. So
Alright.
I got the latest manga volume of Batum, volume 4 of Promised Neverland, which was a show recommended to me by a listener, Meowth900. Maybe you've heard of her.
Never.
Oh, very good manga, very good shonen manga series. A little bit more mature. Has a lot more suspense than I was anticipating when I was first giving it a try. I got 4 volumes of Berserk, basically finishing out the Golden Age arc, which I'm very happy with now that I have a physical copy of those now. And then I got a nice little $10 DVD set of Huzuki no Reitetsu, the Japanese culture comedy anime. That if you want to know more about Japanese culture and then the jokes would make more sense, or just to have fun with the goofiness that they do behind a lot of religious tones, definitely highly recommend that show. I've watched the latest 2 seasons of it. Never seen the first season, so I'm quite excited. And then I got My Neighbor Totoro on Blu-ray, so very, very excited. So if you definitely follow the Red Leaf Retrocast Instagram, I posted a whole picture of the whole set that I got on our Instagram account, Red Leaf Retrocast, or @BowlingJD. And it also goes up on our Twitter, which is of the same name. So definitely go check that out. And I can't wait to watch that first season of Hoseki no Reitetsu for sure. You guys haven't seen any of that, have you?
No.
Yeah.
It was on the most underappreciated anime of 2017, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was definitely nominated, and I think it won. I don't remember. I know it was close. It was definitely one of the, no. It was up for the top 2 with Eccentric Family, I believe.
Well, no, but Eccentric Family didn't win because, said no one heard about Eccentric Family.
Oh, that's right, the joke.
No one appreciated Eccentric Family.
The most underappreciated got second place. It's so underappreciated, it's underappreciated in the voting.
So yeah, alright. Yeah, you watched the second season, didn't you? And not the first one.
Correct.
For some reason.
Yeah, because, it's an episodic show, and everything's always an introduction all the time, sort of, in a way. You never feel lost throughout any point of the show. You can it's just one of those things where you can hop in into any episode and you got it. So.
Yeah, I guess. I just like starting at the beginning.
Yeah, most people do.
Yep. Alright then. So, before we move on, I have some quest updates. Just going to do that real quickly. I am too.
I need to get back to mine, but stuff and things.
Stuff and things, yes, of course. Always stuff and things. Thanks, brains. No. No. Is
that our go-to now? If there's any problem on the cast, it's always Brains from the Trash Panda Watch Anime Podcast's fault.
Apparently. But Hickey brought it up, so it's his fault. And, yeah.
You call him a thing. Like I said, fuck you. Now request, please.
Yes, the quest. So, basically, I'm now done with the 2000s, and I'm moving on to the 2010s. And kind of to wrap up the 2000s in 2009, and even carrying on to 2010, I ended up watching a show and the subsequent 2 movies. That is Eden of the East. So, came out
do tell, sir.
The TV series and first movie came out in 2009, and the second movie came out in 2010. It's produced by Studio Production IG, and it's directed by Kenji Kamiyama, who has done stuff was also directed things like the Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex franchise. So, interesting guy for sure. Let me just look up the synopsis here, and I'm just going to go based on the synopsis for Mal. So, Eden of the East. On November 22nd, 2010, Japan was hit by a missile strike, a terrorist act that fortunately did not harm anyone, becoming known as Careless Monday. Quickly forgotten, society goes on about their lives as normal. During her graduation trip to America 3 months later, friendly college student Saki Modimi's life is forever changed when she finds herself saved from unexpected trouble by Akira Takisawa. Takisawa is cheerful but odd in many ways. He is stark naked and suffers from amnesia, believing himself to be a terrorist. In addition, he possesses a strange cell phone loaded with 8.2 billion yen in digital cash. Despite Takisawa's suspicious traits, Saki quickly befriends the enigmatic young man. However, unbeknownst to her, this is the beginning of a thrilling death game involving money, cell phones, and the salvation of the world. Eden of These chronicles Saki's struggle to unravel the mysteries behind her savior, while Takisawa himself battles other individuals armed with similar cell phones and returning memories which reveal his possible connection to the events from months ago. So, as you can clearly tell, this is Future Diaries before Future Diaries.
Yeah, kind of in a way. It's more based in reality, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a fantasy world. It's not like
God. You're becoming like just money, just regular money, just fighting.
No, I know, but basically, like from the moment they pulled out the cell phones, I was like, "Hold on, what is this?" That was kind of like a moment.
It's a 10. I don't know. Something tells me.
Yeah, I give it a 10. Yeah, no, we'll get there. So basically, like what happens is, we obviously follow these characters as they kind of unravel, obviously, the mysteries behind Akira, trying to figure out why he has lost his memories, or for what purpose because he deleted his own memories, but for what purpose he's deleted his own memories, why he has multiple IDs, why this game he's enrolled in, with the Celis House and people changing the world, why he can open his phone and talk to this random woman who can make basically anything happen. Why he has his money, all this stuff, and ultimately you have the the terrorist acts that have happened, and you have the disappearance of 20,000 NEETs, and if you don't know, NEETs are not in education, employment or training. So yeah, like it's kind of weird, in my opinion. It was a pretty weird show. I definitely noticed quickly on. Yeah, I definitely noticed quickly on that Kenji Kamiyama, he sure loves his fucking movie references, because there's a lot of movie references. Some of them kind of nice, like Akira comparing himself to Jason Bourne.
Hell yeah,
that was kind of funny.
He kind of has to be,
Yeah, I like it though. I like it when they kind of poke fun at themselves. But yeah, so like essentially, without spoiling anything, it's a weird show for me. You also have kind of like the what I like to consider like a kind of an underlying plot of the problem, like of Japan's problem, which has been after the economic crash, with people not being, not working or not being in education or training, the NEET problem, and kind of how I like to look at it as kind of a way of, kind of a bit of commentary on how Japan is handling the NEET problem, or in certain instances. But
it's part of the commentary in the show. There's definitely
it's there. But ultimately, as far as I'm concerned, I didn't like the show.
Really?
The TV series was fine up until like episode 7. I thought it was okay, but then kind of episode 7 came around and it did something that I didn't appreciate, which is, kind of stretching that boundary of believability a bit too much with the, the illusion material.
Okay.
That was kind of like, that was kind of one of those moments where I feel like it kind of got a bit out of hand. It's like, rather than, I get it, she wants to escape, but she's at like the top floor of an hotel, like way up in the air, rather than just fucking having a helicopter or something comes. Like, no, let me just order illusion material that makes it seem like she sprouts wings, destroys the room, and flies off into the ether. weird.
Well, the idea behind a lot of the things in the show, at least the way I took it, I do see what you're saying. They do stretch belief quite a bit, but they do say that if you're able to invent it, then with the amount of money, because of the amount of money you have, anything is possible. So, the instance you're referring to, as I took it, was it does exist. It's like military grade type shit, and she just wanted to go out in this extravagant way.
No, I know. I'm just not a fan of that type of stuff. And especially when it's like fucking after you see the phone, it's like, oh, she ordered illusion material. What the fuck is illusion material?
It's like this. Yeah, it's. I mean,
I know what it's supposed to be, but it doesn't quite explain everything she was able to do. I understand why she's able to fool them into believing that she is some sort of fucking, I don't know, death angel. But like, apart from that, her actual escape is kind of up in the air.
Ah.
But yeah, anyways,
I'm sorry that
that's
moment
just
got you like that.
Yeah, that's just one moment, and it's kind of, there's more of those moments, but not necessarily like that. But I feel like kind of the more I watched, the less interested I got, and yeah,
I could see it. If that moment couldn't grab you, then yeah, the more you watch the show from there, there's a lot of things around that kind of believability.
Yeah. I also didn't really appreciate the whole. I also didn't really appreciate the whole fucking like ongoing joke of the show, the Johnny, the fucking everything Johnny, my Johnny, I'm the Johnny Hunter. That's like,
I don't remember that.
Seriously, you should remember it because it is fucking everywhere. They say that all the time. The Johnny Hunter, the fucking every time Akira has like a fucking weird dream, it's like, oh Johnny. Or when he strips down naked in the US and it's like the policewoman comes to check him out, it's like, I'm gonna need to see your Johnny. Every time. I'm
gonna need to see your Johnny.
Yep. I'm gonna need to see your Johnny.
That at all.
They wanted to check out because there was an Asian guy who exposed himself on the street.
Sure.
And obviously Akira. So they wanted to see if it was him. And since all Asians look similar, they needed to check his penis. But they can't say penis, so Johnny.
I don't remember this joke.
That is very weird because it is very
overused. I guess it didn't stick out in my head at all.
To me, it sounds like comedy for a 5-year-old, but that's besides the point. Anyways, yeah, I thought the TV series was fine, and I ended up giving it a 6, but I gave the 2 movies a 5. It was just kind of there.
And I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I absolutely adore this show. I love the art style. I love the... I just love the story being told and unfolding in this interesting way.
Yeah. I like the animation. It's animated. The animation in it is, like, the TV series is pretty good, and the movies just kind of elevate that even more. The animation is incredibly smooth.
I just had an issue with think about you're someone who was watching the TV show when it came out, and it was only 11 episodes, and all of a sudden, no, you're going to have to wait basically a year for each of the next 2 movies to come out to finish the show.
Well, not exactly a year, but yeah.
It's just about.
Well, let's see. When did the first movie came out in November of 2009, and the second movie came out in March of 2010. So yeah, not just about.
Well, but I guess started in spring, so spring is March. So yeah.
Well, yeah, you had to wait a year for the entire thing to finish from start. Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
But that's to me, that's not really a problem. But all right, that's to each their own. And I didn't have that problem at all, considering the fact that I watched them like literally back to back to back.
What did you think of the coup de grace type finish in the end for both the TV show and the second movie? That not do much for you?
Not really. Like the whole the TV series ending was like, I don't know. It was fine, and knowing that it was going to carry on. I I don't want to spoil anything. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah, I'm just talking in generality here.
No, I know, but I'm trying to think. Yeah, I can't really get into why I dislike it without actually saying what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for the second movie, there's some again kind of in my opinion, a bit of a leap in logic in that ending, but it's whatever. But yeah, let's just move on to Katanagatari, which is the second show that I watched from 2010, January 26th to
this is on my
December 11th.
I believe.
Yeah, to December 11th, 2010. 2010. And yep, 2020. And despite almost having almost a year long almost a year long release, it is actually only 12 episodes, and that's because it's 12 episodes of 50 minutes that was released about once a month. Not exactly, but they were basically aiming to get one episode every month. And it is by Studio White Fox, and it was directed by Keitaro Motonaga, who is famous for also having directed, Data Live, Jormungand, and Digimon Adventure Try. The movies that are coming out. So, yeah. And basically, Katanagatari is, if you're familiar with Nishio Isin, who is the writer behind the Monogatari series and whatnot, it's basically it's just another one of his works. And again, synopsis from Mal. In an Edo period Japan, lush with a variety of sword fighting styles, Shichika Yasuri practices the most unique one, Kyoto-ryu, a technique in which the user's own body is wielded as a blade. The enigmatic seventh head of the Kyoto-ryu school, Shichika lives quietly in exile with his sister Nanami until one day the vividly ambitious strategist Togame barges into their lives. Togame brazenly requests that Shichika help in her mission to collect 12 unique swords known as the Deviant Blades for the shogunate. Shichika accepts, interested in the girl herself rather than the petty politics, and thus sets out on a journey. Standing in their way are the fierce wielders of these legendary weapons, as well as other power-hungry entities who seek to thwart Togame's objective. In order to prevail against their enemy, the duo must become an unbreakable team as they forge ahead on a path of uncertainty and peril. And yeah, an unbreakable team is absolutely what they had to be, and an unbreakable team is absolutely what they were not. Shichika and Togame are very interesting main characters, I feel, because they are... I mean, you basically have a guy whose father was exiled, like Shichika, he is the son of his father who was exiled to an island out in the middle of nowhere due to his involvement in an uprising, and kind of where he slew the, or he ended up slaying kind of the rebellion, and as always happens in Japan, whenever you have somebody who's essentially hero, they are also considered a threat and has to be gotten rid of.
Sure.
So, because he is so strong. So he was exiled, and kind of, so Shichika and his sister Nanami, they end up growing up on this island, and they are taught the style of the Kyoto-ryu, which is the only swordless sword style. So basically, Shichika's
I saw the
weapon,
trailer where he does like a hand technique, and that's his sword.
Yeah, it's basically his entire body, but yeah. He is his entire body is sharpened, or is shaped like a sword, like it's been built up to be a sword. So rather than wield a sword, his body is a sword, and he will fight people like that. And no, it is not by choice. He actually can't wield a sword because a sword cannot wield a sword. He is he's an enigma in that if he picks up a sword and tries to fight, he is the weakest person in the world. But without a fight, he is arguably the strongest person in the world. And Togame, a strategian who shows up at the island to recruit him, or actually, she shows up to recruit his father, but his father has already passed away. So she ends up recruiting Shichika instead. And Shichika is obviously kind of dense, and not just dense, but he's kind of dumb. Obviously, he's not had any kind of training or learning or anything. He hasn't been taught about basically anything about what the ongoings in the world. He knows nothing about
so
them.
He's Goku.
Yeah. He knows nothing about it, and he doesn't care. Togame is kind of a all over the place kind of character. She is very Genki, but also has many kind of modes, and she is a strategian, not a tactician, because she doesn't come up with tactics. She comes up with schemes. So she tries to lure people into into her deeds and try to figure out how to win through her schemes.
Yeah. So the art style stands out to me quite a lot in this.
It does.
The art and kind of art itself.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. And it's kind of like they travel around. Obviously, it's kind of a sword of the month. It's called Sword Story, obviously, and it's kind of a sword of the month type of show. They go to fight someone to pick up the sword or take the sword from them, and basically all to kind of collect the swords for the shogunate, and something that no one has ever managed to do, because these deviant blades, they have kind of, the people that collected them, they have kind of poisoned their minds. So despite being very, very loyal ninjas or sword fighters or soldiers or whatever they were, they ended up betraying the people that or their leaders, because once they got the sword, they got power hungry, and now they had the ultimate power. So yeah, they go around and there's a lot of exposition. If you can imagine just kind of think about Monogatari and all the other Monogataris.
Right.
There's a lot of talking. Metric fuck ton of talking.
Like existentialism in society, or what? What do they discuss?
No,
just talking.
There's a lot of back and forth between Togame and Shichika.
So it's character banter.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
So it's exactly like a Gatari series.
Yes.
Yeah, well, and it's standard Nisyu scene style.
Right, okay. That gives me an immediate idea what to expect going into it.
Yeah.
One of the things that I appreciate
at all, just text everywhere.
That seems a bit odd because it doesn't seem like a very Nisyu-san thing to have a daft male character, at least from what I've seen from his work.
And that is kind of the joke. Because one of the things that I appreciate about Katanagatari is that Nisyu likes to poke fun at himself as a writer in this one. He does that quite a lot. You can have that with Togame, because she obviously has to fill in a report for the shogunate on everything they're doing. So obviously she's at first, not always, but in the early episodes, she's instructing Shichika when she defeats the enemies to take their swords. He's like, you need to finish them in a stylish manner. Like, you need to have some ultimate move that looks very cool, so that I can write about it, because the readers need to be interested. We need to make this interesting for the readers. And he's kind of like, aren't you writing this for the shogunate? Yes, but they're going to read this. It needs to be. So she's like essentially writing a book.
And quite like that. Okay.
Yeah. So she's the book writer of the entire thing, as well as the one who comes up with the schemes. And
I could totally see a scene where she's like, "No, you have to call out your move before you do it."
Oh, she ends up having him pick a kind of a kind of cheesy one-liner for him to say.
There you go.
So it's like, because his thing is like, you need to say something that you always say. But Chichika's thing that he always says is "Mendokusai," like, it's too much of a hassle. I can't be asked.
Oh my
God.
God.
I don't wanna. That's his thing.
From Naruto over here.
Yep. So, but she is kind of like, she ends up eventually convincing him to, or rather, he kind of just picks him to shut her up, because she has written down a ton of suggestions for what to say. So
this sounds exactly like your kind of show.
Almost.
So what's the problem?
Yeah. Well, the problem is, first and foremost, I would like to see Katanagatari remade by Shaft, because for as interesting as this is from an art style perspective, the direction and how they present a lot of the exposition is very plain, and can actually be pretty boring, sadly.
Hence why you want Shaft to do it instead. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about with what's the Wolf's Rain was also by White Fox, and that's another show with a lot of kind of exposition. Instead of character banter, that show focuses on the kind of the existentialism of the world and being having equality, and anytime they get into those kind of conversations, it's not even, they don't even really do the panning screenshots. It just kind of goes to like backgrounds or close up on the characters' faces all the time. So I imagine it'd be something like in that realm in this show as well.
That is exactly it. They do that there are even issues where it's like there's one, they go to the desert to collect a sword, and he is like a lot of that episode is good. I even like a lot of the banter in there. The problem is just that the fact that the background is literally just sand, and there's a moment where they literally sit down in the sand for at least 5 to 10 minutes to just talk. And that is it. The only difference you get is sometimes they zoom in on their face.
Yep, that's exactly. I wonder if it's by.
No visual representation
the same director.
That could be. I haven't actually looked into that.
I'm gonna look that up as you continue.
Yeah, but essentially that is kind of the problem. And if you know Shaft, how they would do it, they have obviously the weird ass like framings and how everything constantly seems to change, even though literally characters are just talking to each other. Your eyes always has something new to look at, pretty much.
Well, it's the same director as School Days.
Okay. Well, then we know. Yeah. Now, so
Chef usually uses that visual representation in metaphors to what the characters are talking about. So it is very interesting. To pay attention to not only what the characters are saying, but also what is going on in the screen, so you can get the metaphor. And sometimes, especially within the series scene, it makes it easier on you to understand what they're talking about, because some of the things the characters in Monogatari, for example, and what the other one Shaft did.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't remember the name.
About the
Modern in the island with the genius. Anyway, sometimes it is very hard to understand what is going on because it is fast and it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So having the visual representation not only helps you to stay focused because you're not looking at two characters sitting down staring at each other for 10 minutes, but also gives you some metaphors to understand what they are talking about, which would be really good in Katana Gatari.
Yep.
I can recognize that, yes.
Yeah. And kind of
I'm sorry, I misspoke, Tori. The Wolf's Rain was by Bones, but from your description of everything, it sounded the same. It sounded similar, like it had similar issues.
Yeah. And just kind of as well, not to just point at the direction of the show, but kind of as well, one thing that I didn't appreciate, and this is something that Nishizen is going to have to take on his on for himself, is kind of at the end, and I'm not going to spoil it, but at the end, after they have collected the 12 swords, who would have thought they did? And what essentially ends up having to happen, or not having to happen, what essentially ends up happening is that Chichika has to fight the swords again. All 12 of them. And
what, like a Mega Man final boss fight?
Yeah, no, it's literally like a floor climbing thing, where it's like he enters floor 1, fights 1, climbs up to floor 2, then beats a second opponent, fights that person. And it's kind of like, they're all new characters who have just been introduced, and they're literally just there to kill Chichika. But he is kind of busy. He has another goal in mind, so he kind of just pillages through all of them, like they're not even there. But
weird.
That's kind of the point. But it is a bit of that, kind of just, kind of like fodder characters who are their literal only purpose to this story, because they were just introduced 2 seconds ago. Actually, they're literally introducing themselves as they're about to get killed. So, they're literally characters who are made to die.
What did you end up giving the show in the end?
I ended up giving the show a 7 because it's enjoyable, but I'm also disappointed because this show has been built up in my mind for so long. I've heard people rave about this show forever, and I've always been meaning to watch it. I finally got around to it, and I was like, yeah, it's a good show, but like, I don't understand why people are so up in arms about this one.
Maybe it's the carrot. Maybe it's that style of that Nisiosin has, where it's a lot of the character banter and talking points, and how it's just how it is, how he is.
For sure.
Yeah.
But still, when you see what Shaft can do with it, it's kind of like,
sure.
It's alright. It's fine. It's good even, but yeah, so ultimately it was a fun watch. Like, definitely not, despite being 50 minutes an episode, it's not like it was hard to watch. Yes, some of the exposition is kind of boring, but like just the chemistry between Togame and Shichika is incredibly good. And
yeah, I got a feeling of that just in the trailer. Hickey, question.
Yes.
You've been quiet for some time in this podcast so far.
Yeah, my friend started talking to me through messages telling me to watch the How to Not Summon and Demon Lord season. So I'm just like, dude, can you stop? So we're just going back and forth. We're not really paying attention to what is going on.
Then I got a question for you. A, have you seen Eden of the East?
I have, but it's been a while. Why?
Did you like it or not? Do you remember liking it?
It was fine. Okay. I remember liking it. It was... What year is Eden of the East?
2009.
Uh-huh.
So it's been almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I watched it in the first year of high school, I guess. So 2010.
What about Katana Gatari? Did you like that?
I liked it, but it was like I watched like 2 seasons of Monogatari and then went to watch Katana Gatari. So I was already a Nisio Isin fanboy, and you know I might got contaminated for that. But I remember enjoying a lot of it, except the last part was a little rough, like Dottie said. Sorry about it. Yeah, I remember it. I remember liking it.
Yeah.
Or with the harsh scores, a couple shows that...
It is hard to not be charmed by Nisio Isin works.
Yeah.
No matter how okay-ish the adaptation is for anime.
Yep.
So, you can get past the adaptation. That's
agree.
what happened to me in Katana Gatari.
I agree. But I got it past, though, JD. What the hell? What do you mean harsh? I gave Katana Gatari a 7. How is that harsh?
Man, you're gonna get all of the weebs and otakus fighting against you. Just giving a Nisio show a 7. They're gonna come after you, man.
I've given Monogatari series lower than a 7. All right.
I'm in the same boat, actually.
I mean, I gave it a 6 or 7. I don't remember right now. The first season.
They're gonna come for us. The Red Leaf Retrocast is just gonna plummet in the ratings now.
The books are really cool.
So if you have anything you want to complain to me about, you can always find me at Tori RLR.
Yeah, I do like your new Twitter handle. That is good. Didn't even tell me as I'm putting in for the show notes and everything.
Yeah. Nah, it's easy. It's easier to find than the other one I had.
Right.
Yeah, it is easier than Tori Love Straps one.
Yep,
definitely.
So shall I play this awesome anime drop, and then we move on to one of our more fun topics?
Wow, you just said my topic isn't fun, but okay, yeah, sure.
Alrighty. So, our first topic is reviewing the spring anime season. And if you're joining us for the first time for this, upon the completion of every season now, since these topics are very popular and we've gotten some good feedback from them, we each pick a couple shows. We pick a couple for the start of the season, then we do a mid-season kind of catch-up over a couple more. If something's really interesting, we may talk about the show again. And then at the end of the season, we'll each host picks a couple shows and maybe an extra show, as we're going to do here. for something more of a deeper discussion. More or less just general thoughts, if we liked it, pros and cons of it, and then we move on. Because really, we're Retrocast, and the more in-depth reviews are saved for our retro shows, which makes sense. Makes sense, guys? Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just get us going.
I mean, if you guys want a modern one, just let us know. We can go about Japanese culture as well and other things like Japanese games and Japanese culture, Japanese manga, whatever, more modern stuff. But here, yeah, focus on old stuff.
Yeah, and the good thing is our general topics can be a wide range of anything, basically. But I'll get us started here with a show that started in spring, ended in spring. It is Golden Kamuy, a manga that's become very popular, at least from the word of mouth that in the sectors that I'm part of, community wise. The show is the show takes place in the early 20th century. Russo-Japanese war veteran Sugimoto. Basically, he gets his friend dies, and he needs to. His friend tells him to take care of his wife, his widow, and he basically needs money to do that. So he's sifting for gold in the north, and gets word of mouth that this fortune of hidden Ainu gold, and Ainu are these think of them like the Inuits or Native Americans tribe. A whole bunch of gold was stolen from them, and these prisoners, this one guy who stole it tattoos a bunch of prisoners with basically a map on their body, and you can't decipher where the gold is without getting all of the prisoners' tattoos and like putting them together to forge this map. Think of it as a treasure map, but with people. So it's kind of this weird hybrid episodic type show where each episode kind of has a formula where and they do this for a while, where it starts out with Sugimoto and this Ainu girl named Asirpa, who's very adorable, and she always starts off with eating food and talking and mannerisms and what have you from the Ainu tribe. Every episode starts out with her explaining something from her culture to Sugimoto, be it a lot of times with how they hunt and kill food, and how they prepare it, to what they think of the regular world and how they look at things. Probably the more or less famous joke was her take on what is it? Not wasabi. The miso.
Miso.
Yeah, she sees it as poop, because of what it's made out of and how it is. Goofy faces ensue, and it's all quite adorable. But to me, it did wear on me a little bit, because they do it just about every episode, where they're just hanging out and doing this cool little culture stuff. You know, I'm always for that. I mean, hell, I like Hoseki no Reitetsu. That's filled with cultural references and everything, but this show just doesn't quite do it well enough. Or I guess the better way I can put it is it repeats things too much. It doesn't change it up for what the culture could be and what it is. Luckily, when the two do travel, and they do get to meet other Ainu people, that's when the culture kind of changes it up like I wanted. Too much emphasis on food. I watch Food Wars for the food, not Golden Kamuy.
Yeah.
And then seemingly the next part of that formula is meet crazy person of the episode, and generally that person has something to do with the tattoos, a tattooed prisoner. And of course, there's factions that are also after the gold, be it a rebel kind of group within the army that Sugimoto was part of, another ragtag bunch of people, and they're all after the same goal and killing each other with brutal deaths, and that's all cool. And every episode seems to end on some good cliffhanger surrounding that, and then of course Asirpa or Sugimoto kind of squeezes out of that mess immediately, and then they go right back into, oh, I killed this animal, let's eat this, and oh, funny faces. So the formula works all well and good, but it does get a little wearing. For some reason, it didn't, as much as it bothered me, and I think they could have changed it up a little bit more each episode. The formula, it seemed like a game loop that just seemed to work for what it was doing. It's by Geno Studio, so new studio, does a lot of weird CG things. More famously, if you look up GIFs online, is this wild CG bear that doesn't look all that good at all. But the CG and everything aside, just from like a story perspective, there's a lot of dialogue in the show, a lot of comedic elements mixed in with these brutal things. I enjoyed the show, despite a lot of its negatives. It did have a lot of positives to go with it, and I think the positives outweighed the negative in the end. So, a second season was announced for the fall, and I'll definitely be watching that.
Yeah, it was fine. And also, just for people that are wondering, because I'm sure there's somebody out there that wonders, because, you know, like, what is up with anime and food? It's not just Golden Kamuy, it's like most anime, and why they always have to put emphasis on the food. And, you know, we can save the joke of why food always has to look good, because, you know, but the thing one of the things in Japanese culture is that they take food very seriously. They have they're one of the biggest when it comes to seasonal food. They literally have prayers for their food. Like, you know, all their food needs to be fresh. It needs to be fucking the best. So they take food incredibly serious, and they like to show that off in anime as well. Golden Kamuy is no exception.
Well,
they really, really want to highlight the food.
Yeah, it's they definitely overdid it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, JD, because I haven't watched Golden Kamuy yet. I'm still catching up with a lot of things. But during the season, I was going on Twitter, and when Golden Kamuy was featured in a tweet, it wasn't about the story. They weren't talking about the story. It was usually either food or a funny face.
And
but
the
never
funny face is always
something
like,
about the story. I don't
food.
know. I don't know the story. I wasn't spoiled on Golden Kamuy through Twitter. Like, usually when you go to Twitter mid-season, you get spoiled a lot. But with Golden Kamuy, I wasn't spoiled because people were focusing on food and funny faces. So, like, I think if that is happening, is because this shouldn't be, but it's the focus of the show.
Yeah, I'm really convinced that if the show would have toned down this whole food central focus that seemed to happen all the time. I mean, occasionally they would have, you know, people eat. One scene in particular stands out where Sugimoto, Asirpa, and this thief that they befriend, they're hanging out, and one of the ragtag group of one of the faction leaders, they kind of meet each other, and their Asirpa, I believe, gets drunk, and
yeah.
And this guy asks Sugimoto, like, what's her Japanese name, not her her native name, Asirpa. And he's like, oh, I don't know, I never asked her. It's like, okay, because he's like looking for her or whatever. I mean, when they're eating food and something like that happens, that makes sense. But generally, the show didn't do that. If they really toned that down, this whole food culture thing, as much as I enjoyed it the first couple times, it was beaten to death, as anime does. If it was more story-focused, I definitely would have given it a higher score. So, luckily, you Hickey, were not spoiled on the show, so maybe that's a positive.
Yeah, I'll get you watch it eventually.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting. I was like, those people were not paying attention to the story at all. They're just talking about funny faces and food. What the fuck?
Yep, the most important things of Golden Kamuy: funny faces, food, CG beer, CG flame.
Yeah, so Geno Studio, I mean, I liked Kokaku from the winter. That was a weird fucking show that had its pros and cons. I didn't like the ending personally, as we discussed in that podcast episode from the past. And then Golden Kamuy, very much the same thing. It suffered from a lot of the animation elements that Kokaku suffered from. So it's 2 for 2 for Geno, for me at least. Good for them. It's becoming one of my more favorite studios, despite their despite their shortcomings.
All right then. Well, so one of the shows that I'm going to talk about is Amanchu Advance, which is the second season of Amanchu, a show by JC staff. And if you don't know what Amanchu is a Iyashike type of story, which is just, relaxation about these girls in a diving club. So what they do is they kind of just live their everyday life. They go diving and they have kind of small little epiphanies and realizations about their life, and kind of it's just a cheery show in general. Oh, I think there needs to be explained that much more than that. It's all about character relationships. It's all about just, kind of those small. It's a lot about those small victories in life. Kind of just doing something that you normally were afraid to do. Kind of like stepping out of your own comfort zone a little bit, and just the small things, the things that make you happy. Go out and chase your happiness. That kind of show. And I really like Amanchu. Aw, disgusting.
Now I'm sad.
See how quickly it changes?
I live next to the ocean. I'm gonna dump myself in it right now.
Well, damn. Alright then. Amanchu. So Amanchu Advance, that's the second season, and it's pretty much just more of the same, apart from a couple things, which is they tried to add more of a...
No, it's not more of the same.
Well, that's why no, it is more of the same, except for the fact that they tried to add... Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
I didn't feel like that. I didn't feel it was more of the same.
I think it is. At least for parts of it. But you do have a bit of fantasy thrown in, which is, for if you've seen, like me, I've seen Aria, you'll know that shouldn't exactly come as a shock. They've done that before. But, like, in this case, it didn't quite work. You have a bit of kind of... I'm trying to be nice, Icky. Shut up.
It was so forced. I was so fucking disappointed with Amanchu's second season.
Yeah.
Oh my god. They tried to force so many things down our throats.
Yes, it is.
So many things. Not only the fantasy. The music wasn't that great, especially because it didn't have the bossa nova sound in the background. It didn't have the... How can I say? The scenario Sakuga usually you have with Arya and the first season of Amanchu, like this the city treasure thing. Like, this view is our treasure, something like that. You didn't have anything like that. You have a lot of forced Yuri, let's put it that, Shoujo-ai. Yeah, Shoujo-ai is better. A lot of forced Shoujo-ai. You had forced characters, which were the kids. I know what the author is doing with the kids. It's basically just like the last season of Arya, where obviously spoilers, but I almost gave a big spoiler of Arya, but it is the same thing, but it's kind of forced, especially with the boy, which they think it's a girl until the end. Then kind of the problems and struggles of the characters we want to see, or at least I wanted to see. They kind of went outside, like they would put outside of the anime until quite the very end when Teko wants to go diving at night. That should be Amanchu. Yeah, that is a record.
That is what they would normally do. Yes.
The fantasy part was bad. That is the only way to describe the fantasy part. And it was introduced later in the anime, but when they explained the fantasy on that board, you realize it was present at the beginning of the anime as well. So it contaminated the beginning of the anime. And then at the very end, they also take it, like they push it, the fantasy forward as well with one of the dialogues. And it kind of contaminated all the anime and kind of diminished my enjoyment of the part that I thought it wasn't contaminated with the forced fantasy. Even though those parts are also contaminated with forced shoujo-ai and forced characters I didn't care about, or I don't think they were well developed. Okay, I stole your rant about Amanchu. Sorry, I'm just disappointed on Amanchu. I really like Arya, and I really like Amanchu first season. So I was very disappointed. Tony was in the voice chat when I was watching it.
Yeah, I was. Like, I get it. I kind of share some of his frustration. I still am biased towards it, so I still kind of like it. It's not as good, sadly, and it's a step back, because what I was hoping to get more of what I enjoy of Amanchu, and like I said, I mean, I introduced it on the first podcast, if you listened to it. Arya is my favorite anime of all time. I absolutely adore that. So kind of to have Amanchu and then kind of like have that good first season, I'm like, oh, I'm looking forward to more. And then I get the second season, and I get this, and it's kind of like, that's a step backwards. So that just was very disappointing. And it's not what I was hoping for. I agree with Eki, like the whole fantasy, they kind of steal the whole Peter Pan thing, kind of becomes relevant here, and it doesn't work for what Amanchu was. It's kind of like it says, it kind of feels like they're trying to transform it into something else, and it's not quite what I want. Like, yeah, the forced shoujo-ai, there were parts of that in the first season as well, but in this one, it's quite a lot more.
In the first season was more anchored Japanese relationships, because there's a lot of that in Japanese relationships. Since you don't have a lot of contact between opposite sex, usually the first relationship, and some scientists, like social scientists, they explain by saying usually the first love is someone from the same sex in Japan. But it's not love, it's just this sense of admiration. That's why you see shoujo-ai and shonen-ai very present in anime.
Yep.
That happened in the first season, especially because Teiko is so charmed by Pikari in the first season. But the second season, it's not that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is not admiration at all.
No, it is.
Not only,
They're literally like Teiko.
I'm so disappointed. I'm still so disappointed.
I know. There's this new character introduced as well, and kind of Teiko and this little kid, they kind of end up having a lot of, battles, or kind of arguments between each other about Pikari. It's kind of like, no, I'll let her sleep on my lap. No, she'll sleep on my lap. So I don't know. It's kind of like, it's like you kind of stepped out of like that good feeling Iyashike about, people who are facing their fears or challenges, or kind of just, through diving, and kind of stepped into this like weird slice of life shoujo-ai comedy type show.
When did the first season come out, Tori?
The first season came out in 2016, July of 2016, so summer.
Weird how just 2 years...
It's been a long time, holy shit.
Weird how just in 2 years the show changed, because just judging from what you guys are making it sound like, it changed to what seems to be more popular with anime fans today, which is that slice of life.
I don't think so. No. Especially considering that Amanchu isn't very popular in general. But
maybe they were just trying to try something new to make it popular.
I guess.
I don't think so. I have no idea. The thing, obviously, I haven't read the manga for Amanchu, so I have no idea if this is completely different or if this is actually how the manga goes. The only thing I know as well about the mangaka is that the manga had to kind of go on breaks and kind of was cut down to being released rather than every month. It was released every 3 months, and this was because the author was pregnant and expecting child, so she couldn't work as often, obviously. So
got the pregnant.
I don't know.
Okay.
So so I don't know how that, if that has somehow affected the story, or if there's just she just kind of had an epiphany midway through. It's like, actually, I want to take it in this direction. I don't know. But what could have been? Yeah, sadly, it's kind of unexpected because it's the same staff, and more importantly, it's the same staff who made Aria. So it's kind of weird to see them take this turn, because it's not like they don't stick to what they do. Like the people that worked on Amanchu and the people that worked on Aria, they worked on a lot of slice of life shows. Like, if I'm not mistaken, I think they worked on stuff like K-On! I think they worked on Non-Biori. I think like a lot of stuff like that. So it's kind of weird to see them all of a sudden just kind of flip-flop between seasons. That's not really what I expected.
Well, anyways, that's too bad. Did get a DM on Twitter asking if we're gonna discuss Steins Gate at all. No, we're not discussing Steins Gate.
No, I am the huge Steins Gate fan here.
I like Steins Gate too.
No, but I play the game. I usually play all the science adventure, and I read the books. So I'm the fan of the guy who writes them.
Yeah.
I played Steins Gate to its completion. I've read the Steins Gate Zero light novels, so I kind of know what is going to happen in the anime already. I'm holding off of playing the game, and I haven't watched Steins Gate yet. So I can kind of binge watch Steins Gate, and next cast if we can talk a little bit about Steins Gate. I can explain some of the endings of the thing. I can make it something if they want to see us talking about Steins Gate Zero.
I will say this just right fast. The show's at its halfway point in the dub, and the difference between Zero and the first Steins Gate was, at this point, a major twist happened, which grabbed the viewer. Because let's face it, that first half of Steins Gate was grasping that mystery, like if something's gonna happen. This Zero doesn't have that. It's seriously lacking that. And there's no twist. So that's my opinion on it.
At the beginning of Steins Gate Zero, the twist already happened because, it is a spoiler. The beginning of Steins Gate is a direct spoiler of one of the endings of the light novel, the visual novel, which is a piece of shit. Because if I remember correctly, Steins Gate has 10 chapters, and getting the bad end in the last one, it's because you did something bad in the sixth chapter. So you need to go back 4 chapters to. I hate that game so much. Anyway, but we can discuss it. I can watch it, and we can have a nice discussion. Steins Gate. My
idea was kind of or the way I didn't want to talk about Steins Gate right now, simply because it's only at its halfway point, and I didn't see the point of kind of discussing where Steins Gate Zero is right now.
Yeah, I'd be up for holding off on Steins Gate till the show's finished, and we do that for the spring season review. Or, I'm sorry, the summer season review.
We can talk about mid-season as well, because when we hit mid-season, it will probably have one of the major turning points of the Steins Gate story.
I can already say I've already seen something, so yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're right.
Anyways, let's move on. Hickey, your first show to review from spring 2018.
Yes, talking about that stuff. We're going to talk about Sword Art Online, alternative gun game.
Oh my god.
I'm looking forward to this.
That show. The game's broken. Let's start with that. They introduced 2 mechanics of the game of gun game and they're not compatible with each other, which is the bullet line, where the sexy sadistic instructor NPC says the bullet will always travel on that trajectory, and then the same instructor goes and says when you aim down sight or aim the gun, there's a bullet circle which variate the size, and the bullet will variate its trajectory inside of that circle. But wait, when I shoot, there's a bullet line, and the bullet always follow that line. But when I also shoot, there's a chance it variates. So like, so they ignore the bullet line and the bullet circle, and they only use it when it's convenient.
It is basically just used as a way of alerting other players that there's someone.
Oh my god!
That is kind of the only thing.
No, but like, there's one point when they play in the last battle royale, where they are shooting, like they're trying to get those guys in the train station, and Len's friend has an idea of basically using the grenade launchers as artillery pieces. And the guys are like holding up in the trails, and then they see the bullet line, and the grenade follows the exact bullet line. So no, it's not only about alerting players. Also, if she didn't know the circle, she can't see the circle while she's shooting with such precision. That kind of thing. And the game's broken. That is not the point. But anyway, it's a spin-off of Sword Art Online, the series loved by many and hated by also many people, tells the story of Kohirui Maki Eren, which is too tall for a Japanese woman, and she doesn't like it. So one of the ways of ignoring her situation is going online and playing games. So she moved to Tokyo and keep talking with one of her friends from her town, and decided to play games with her and decided to try Alphen Online. But on Alphen, the characters are generated randomly, and she ends up with being a giant elf. So she changes to alternative gun game online, where she's a little girl with like 126, I think, 126 centimeters high.
Yeah.
So yeah, she started playing and ambushing and PKing people on a pink desert with the pink desert camouflage, and she started to be called like the Pink Devil because she's very fast and just PK stuff. She doesn't care about the monsters. She's all about PKing people until she meets a character called Pitohui, and the show. Peter, who is an awesome player as well, also grow playing gun game online, and they start to become friends. And basically a promise go on between them, and they need to play this battle royale mode that was introduced to the game until like the conclusion where she needs to kill Pitohui, or else the woman playing Pitohui will kill herself at the end of the game if she loses the battle royale. But since they had a promise of meeting each other in reality, if Len's kill Pitohui, she can kill herself because she needs to keep the promise. Because fuck it. That is basically the story of the anime, and it goes on. It is fun. I thought it was fun. I thought it was more enjoyable than Sword Art Online, actually. Except the reality parts. The in-reality parts are not bad, like not good in this show. Yeah. Not at all.
Well, the reality parts are never good in Sword Art Online.
No, not really. Kirito can make Sword Art Online be very bad, even inside of the games. But the in-reality is not good, especially because usually the characters are very different from the game counterpart. So, like, you have the Amazons, which are those buff ladies, and they're just like little girls in the real life. This kind of thing. It is not that good, but the fights and whatnot, they are very good, especially when Pitohui is fighting at the end. She's merciless. She's fucking brutal, and I really like it. The animation of the fights, well done. Hey, it was fun. The end was dumb.
The end was dumb.
was dumb.
The end was
Step
dumb in
up.
a
Plot
Sword
twist
Art
was quite
Online
dumb.
anime? No way.
You know what, though? I just want to... Hickey, do you remember who wrote this?
Who?
I don't remember his name right now.
I remember you're talking about it.
Yeah. The guy who wrote Sword Art Online.
Zero Tsukaima? No, Zero Tsukaima
No.
is dead. I'm confusing with the reboot of Strike Witch's light novel.
Eiichi Sigsawa.
Yep. That guy is the same. The dude is the light novel art. The same guy who wrote the light novel for Kino's Journey. He also wrote Alternative Gun Gale Online. I just thought that's kind of funny, especially if I know how much people love Kino's Journey.
What the hell? That makes no sense to me now.
I know how much people love Kino's Journey, so it's kind of funny seeing
Someone
him
like
tackle
crack him
Sword
over
Art
the
Online.
head with a bedpan, and he's like, "I got an idea for sword art."
No, probably not.
Well, the gun fighting scenes are fun. Are fun to watch.
Yeah.
So like, Kino's Journey also have that. So I imagine the normal slice of life thing is not his thing. It's more the fantasy with guns, such as Kino's Journey. Mm. So that explains why the gaming part was way better than the real life part, which is very bad.
Basically, no, but I just thought that was kind of funny when I found that out. I was like, that was. I wasn't expecting that, but that was kind of funny. So, but yeah, I agree with what Hickey says. Kind of the real life thing is, and you know, their pathetic excuse for a plot twist at the end, a plot twist that I figured out. I basically guessed after meeting Pitui. That was kind of.
Yeah, no.
Right.
I didn't realize at first because I was so pissed on the game mechanics and how bad the people playing that game are.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And then, like, when you said no, they thought about it. Like they talked about it in the first episode. I was like, wait. And then I was like, there's only two people that could be in the first episode. One is this singer. Two, it's her friend. Three, it's an old lady in a cigarette stand. I don't think it's the old lady, but if it was, it would be awesome.
Yeah. I dropped the show so fast at the beginning of the season.
Some of the things that happened in the last 5 minutes of the show kind of ruined a lot of things. Oh. Like the why the guy named M is called M. It's not from
masochist.
That's the main thing is masochist. How Peter Boy doesn't make difference between man and woman and kind of says, yo, Len, you want to hang out tonight? We can have some fun. And she looks like a teenager, Sinka. It is... there's a lot of weird stuff that happened in the 5 minutes that really take a down a notch of enjoyment.
Yeah, but it's all fine. You remember the bite.
At the end, I had fun.
Yeah.
Like,
as far as I'm concerned, Alternative Gun Gale Online is way better than Gun Gale Online itself. It's still not good, but I fucking hate Gun Gale Online. God damn.
Oh, well, I mean, Gun Gale Online, the actual Sword Art Online Gun Gale Online, is way dumber than the Alternative Gun Gale Online. That's for sure. That is for sure, especially the last fight in the real life. That one is very dumb.
Yep.
It's extremely dumb, to say the least. So, like, in this one, you don't have that in reality fight, and the fight inside of the video game, especially because Peter Hoy goes havoc on enemies and just torture them, and she kills a guy by smashing his head against a rock and stuff like that.
Yep.
Those parts are very interesting and very well built. So, although it's dumb, it is less dumb than the normal Sword Art Online Gun Game Online.
All right. Good stuff, then.
Next one.
Yeah. Tori, did you finish the show or watch it, or no?
I finished Alternative Gun Gale Online, yeah.
Okay. I'm the only one that dropped it. Great.
Yep. Wow, Sword Art Online hater. Go get out.
And I've seen the other two. I absolutely love the first Sword Art Online.
Aw.
And I like the
lying.
first half of Gun Gale as well.
Look at him lying.
Anyways, before I go into this next anime, Lupin is still ongoing, and it's fantastic. So we'll definitely get to that at some point down the road. And Legend of Galactic Heroes is a remake. The only reason why we're not talking about that is because it's a remake of a show that is finished, which is Legend of the Galactic Heroes. And just trust us on it. It's really good.
Trust you.
Trust me on it. I'm the only one that watched that show. Am I? Aren't I?
I think the new one, yeah. I'm not sure if Hickey's seen the other one.
Oh, man. Bummer. New one's really good. Very faithful. So, alright. So, this next anime I'm talking about is Hina Matsuri. A show, I believe, Hickey, you were part of the group that recommended it to me.
Yeah,
or at least we're excited that I was watching
the manga.
I read the manga. I was at an anime con in Ohio, and that's where I first heard about this, and I wrote it down.
Ohio!
Fuck you, Tori.
Wow.
Disconnect from the fucking channel and go think of what you just did.
Nope, I refuse.
Okay. So, Hinamatsuri is about a Yakuza guy named Nita who comes across this girl named Hina. She kind of just shows up in his apartment, and she is from another world or some shit. I don't remember. It's hardly important. The fact is she has telekinetic powers that she has to basically continue to use, or she loses control, which kind of goes into jokes.
Whoa.
Ensuing.
Is this Mob Psycho?
And kind of.
Yeah,
not as wacky as
in a way.
Mob Psycho. Mob Psycho is way more wacky with the enemies and stuff.
The thing is, though, that Hina is dumb as bricks, and she has like no common sense.
She's not only dumb. She's a little prick as well.
yeah, she's got a little attitude on her as well for whatever reason. So basically, she lives with Nita now, and the anime consists of goofy shit that happens between Nita and Hina. Basically, Hina causing mischief in her dumb, stupid, dumb as brick ways, which kind of works from the humor standpoint, because it's all based on Nita's reaction and how like you perceive her being stupid in this reality. And then there's simple humor things like her eating too much like salmon eggs. Okay, one joke with the salmon eggs is she wants to help Nita because she's been living with them for a while. She wants to do something nice, so she cleans the apartment, but she totally sucks at it. She's breaking all of his expensive vases. She's like vacuuming up rugs. She's trying to wash the dishes, but she breaks everything. And at the end of it, she goes, well, maybe he won't notice, but I did a good job. I worked hard. I will eat all of these salmon eggs. And then it cuts to Nita, like, talking to a friend of his, and he's like, yeah, she likes salmon eggs, but all the salmon eggs in the fridge have gone bad, like, days ago. So, kind of like it's moral humor in the end. So, what the show does, I want to say around the halfway point. The formula here is the first half is kind of comedy. No. The formula here is every other episode is a comedy episode, and then the other one will be a kind of moral of the week episode. And they go through maybe one or two per episode. And I gotta be honest, the first half, those moral episodes were okay because it was Hina kind of learning about the world. You get other people from her world coming in, and you know, for example, there's like an officer that has to like shadow her, and she has a checkbox of all the like stupid societal shit you have to do, such as help elderly or like one instance was leaves an abandoned cat on the side of the road, and one of the checkboxes was like cares for weakened animals or something, and the officer shadowing her goes, no chance she passes this. She will like wring its neck or something and cause mayhem throughout the neighborhood. And it shows Hina putting an umbrella over it, and the woman freaks out. It's like, oh my god. So simplistic humor that gets to you, but once it goes past all that and starts focusing on it, once it loses the introduction of these characters learning about our world and adjusting to it, it loses a lot of that luster for me, in all honesty. That the second
come on,
half,
not even Anzu being the nicest child that ever existed, and Hitomi working as a bartender saved it.
Well,
for you
see,
in the
that was
second
all
part?
good at the start. In the second half, it became kind of only that. Like, Hitomi at the bar was more or less ignored. And Anzu, like, okay, for example, one episode, Anzu goes to live with Nita while Hina is, like, out in the mountains doing her thing with the class, because she ends up going to school at one point. And Anzu's there, and she develops, because she becomes homeless at one point at the beginning of the series, and she's learning how, you know, what it's like to be homeless and the value of $1. She goes to live with Nita in this episode, the second half of the show, and basically the whole episode is just Nita, in his mind, comparing Anzu and how great she is compared to Hina being the piece of shit nobody that Hina is. And it's just him just going, I'm gonna get her to screw up at one point. I'm gonna get her to be selfish, and never does. And that's all the episode was. It wasn't funny. The moral wasn't any good. I'm so torn on it, because I did laugh quite a lot in the show, and then I was also bored through a good chunk of the show as well. Unfortunately,
Yeah, I mean, how can I explain it? The show ended in a interesting part because after the end there's a time skip, and basically you skip to high school. Hina is going through high school. She succeeded in going to high school.
Yeah, I don't understand how it's even
Against
possible.
all the odds.
She just
Against all the
drooled in the
odds.
back of the classroom the whole time.
Yeah, against all the odds, she succeeded in entering a high school. And also, at the second part, you were introduced to Mao, which is the girl in the desert island.
Yeah, that was a weird
No.
episode too. This random girl shows up to come get Anzu and Hina named Mao, and she gets stranded on a desert island. And like a whole half episode is just her on the island, and that's it.
Yeah. Like, after the time skip, you have more characters coming in, more stories about the characters, like Nita's family and things like that. You see the characters after the time skip, and because of that, there's new developments to the story. But yeah, like they also skipped the little things here and there and focused on things that aren't that necessarily interesting to see.
Yeah, it all seemed
But no.
odd decisions on why they chose to focus on what they did for episodes. I just found it so boring.
Because it's more like a lot of those episodes, they're just preparing stuff for the time skip. There's a lot of things in that second half that are just preparing stuff for the time skip, and it didn't happen because the season ended.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe we get the Hinamatsuri second season, and we'll see. You will see, because I already know where the story develops.
Honestly, if a second season does come out, I probably won't watch it because I just didn't.
No, you should watch it.
I just wasn't into
I'm sure
it. I wasn't into it. I was everything was taken out of my interest in the show when it just focused on these odd moral things that even when the moral things weren't interesting. Like usually a show will okay, the morals at the start of the show in that first half, because it was in that every other episode thing, the mischief that was caused in the episode prior to it, or at least in the first half of the episode, the moral would tie into it. And then the second half, it was just about the moral. There was a serious lack of comedy, which is why I liked the show at the start, rather than what they were learning. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's,
like
I
said, they're just preparing for the time skip, and again, it didn't happen, so it hurt the show quite a bit. And so, like, you cannot ignore the time skip. So, like, they wouldn't go out to do original stuff, especially because, you still have content to be adapted. So they wouldn't just either cut it out a big portion of the show and just go ahead to the time skip in the second part, because then the time skip wouldn't make sense. A lot of characters would just appear out of nowhere. So like it was a bad spot to be with so many preparations to a time skip. It was definitely a bad stop. It was
a bad stopping point. You can definitely feel it when you watch it. The show just kind of ends. You're like, oh, okay. I guess I move on to a different anime now. Anyways.
But the manga is good. If there is a second season, I bet it is going to be better than the second half of the first season. It will be more of the first half of the first season. So I think someone in North America is releasing the manga in English. I'm not sure, but I think someone picked it up to be released. So you can buy it or not. Just go online and read it, but don't tell anyone I told you that.
Well, let's
don't tell anyone there's stuff available on the internet.
Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's pick up the pace a little bit here. Otherwise, we'll be here all day.
Yeah.
Tori. Something
this one's gonna be fast.
Covered. Yeah, something you covered at the mid-season review, I believe.
Yeah. Basically, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Tarakun Never Falls in Love, or Tarakun wa Koi wo Shirai. Basically, if you've ever seen a romance, and I'm sure you have at some point, this is another one.
No, romance is absent from my life. I hate love, and I hate everything that loves.
Alright, fair enough. It is an old man after all. So, basically, what separates this one is, I wouldn't say separates one. One of them is, there's photography, but you have photokano, so. The other one is the fact that the main love interest is from, get this, alright? She is from Luxembourg.
Right, okay. Follow you so far.
That's it.
Okay.
That's the entire, that's like the twist. That's like, ooh, she's from Luxembourg. I mean, it's the plot twist, but it's also in the synopsis, so...
Wait, the plot... What?
The joke we had around the season was, why Luxembourg?
Yeah.
There's nothing there. Why Luxembourg, of all the things?
Well, that's exactly why it matters.
Why not Liechtenstein?
I mean, it made it easier for some of the revelations they had in the anime, yes.
Yeah, it's essentially just the story of Mitsuyoshi Tada, and he's living with his sister and his grandfather, because he's lost his parents. His parents were photographers, and they died in an accident.
Of course they did.
Yeah, so now he's kind of... And Mitsuyoshi, he's kind of just closed himself off. He doesn't really... He's a nice enough guy, and he has lots of friends and that he talks to, and but he doesn't really share what he thinks or what he feels with anyone. He kind of keeps that stuff to himself. But he's obviously practicing to become a photographer himself. He's very good at it. And one day he meets Miss Teresa Wagner. She has obviously come from Luxembourg, and she is a tourist in Japan. And she is a huge...
blue eyes. Of course she's from Luxembourg.
Yeah. And she's a huge otaku, but not anime. She's a huge Rainbow Shogun otaku.
The hell does that mean?
It's like a drama about this samurai who like slays enemies, and he's like, give me a color. Or say a color of the rainbow. Red. Wrong. The rainbow is rainbow colored. And then he kills him.
Oh, I loved it. Oh my god. Oh.
Yeah. That's
it's so dumb, but I just love it.
They only do that like 2 or 3 times in the series.
Aww.
It's not. It's a joke. She's a fan of this character, obviously. So she's obviously going to be like, and because of it, she says kind of some old school stuff like. I don't remember what it's like, but it's, like, I sincerely appreciate, or they translated it as I sincerely appreciate it. Just,
does she talk like a samurai then?
Yes. Yeah, she does.
Oh.
Because that's how she learned Japanese.
Yeah.
Rainbow Shogun.
That goes all the way.
Well, not exactly that, but she does that.
Not even the best part of talking like a samurai.
I know. I don't remember if she actually does that part, but she does have... It's not like she says it all the time, but she has moments where she slips a bit more old school and samurai style talk in. But ultimately, it's a comedy. It's kind of... Well, it's a romance comedy drama. It starts off being pretty lighthearted, being pretty funny. Then obviously you learn that Mitsuyoshi lost his parents. Then you learn that Teresa... She's only going to be in Japan for a set amount of time. Mitsuyoshi starts to have feelings for Teresa. Eventually, Teresa disappears. Turns out that she's a princess. She is the princess of Luxembourg, and
a princess of Luxembourg. Oh my god.
Yeah, that she is.
That's why the shows look. There's so few people in Luxembourg that it is useful for princess to just travel around like that.
It's kind of part of her. They have to stay. They have to, or at least according to them, they have to travel overseas to kind of get some cultural influence, apparently. Not that I thought they got enough of that. They have like so many Portuguese and Spanish and Italian and everything in their fucking country. I thought they had a lot of culture, but whatever. That's kind of it. He kind of has to chase after her and confess to her because he never did. Ultimately, this is as bog standard of a romance as you're ever going to find. It's exactly what you expect.
Sure sounds like
it. And it ends exactly how you expect. So, take that for whatever you want. Do I think this is something people should watch or have to watch? No, not at all. Did I like it? Yeah, I actually did. I think the comedy is actually pretty good, and the character interactions are fairly decent. I like the chemistry between the characters, yes. There's nothing new here. There's nothing exciting. And I kind of wish that they would have... I wish they would have gone up somewhere with the ending that is very untypical romance. But ultimately they didn't do that. But again, that was also expected. It would be weird for him to all of a sudden sway from the standard...
the basics.
Yeah, the basics. When I watched it, the way I always describe it is kind of like... I feel like this show would have been a lot better, or this manga, if it would have, come out earlier. Because it's solid in what it does. It's solid. It tries to do pretty well with the comedy and just kind of characters, and I think it does a pretty good job with the characters and with the comedy. But again, the biggest problem is just that it's nothing new. It's something you've seen a lot before.
Yeah. So they stick with the basics.
Yeah.
And they do the basics well. So although it's not something you go out of your way to recommend because everyone sees it a million times, it's still very good because they do the basics very well, and you enjoy it because of that.
Yeah, but in that same way, I can understand people not liking it. Like, oh fuck, I've seen this show like 500 times before, because you have. Except the main love interest, she's not from Luxembourg, and the ones you've seen. Did you think about that?
Yeah, that is true. That is actually true.
A compelling argument there, Tori.
Going around the world.
Oh god, that's good enough.
Anyway, let's finish it so we can talk about Megalobox. That show is, of course, it should be the only Uma Musume Predator.
Oh god.
Hey, I've been waiting the game since 2016. It's been 2 fucking years I've been waiting for the game, and it should be released last season on spring and was pushed down to winter. So maybe I would only be able to see this game in 2019 at this rate. Basically, it is a show that should be the adaptation of a Cygames game called by the same name, Uma Musume Predator, but unfortunately the game isn't out yet, and I don't know if it will be out. But it tells the story of an alternative world where the spirits of racing horses and mares of this world are reincarnated as cute horse girls, and they need to run again. They go there to run again.
Of course they are.
Also, if they win the race, they have an idol show at the end.
Of course they do.
Basically, Cygames said, we have a bunch of money because we did Grand Blue, we did Love Live, and we did Idolmaster. So how do we get more money? Well, there's horse racing and horse race betting, which is very popular in Japan, and cute girls and idols. So let's just mash everything together, make a game, and profit. But I'm still waiting the game, so I'm kind of sad about that.
It's like the steel underpants technique. How do you make step 1, steel underpants. Step 3, profit. What about step 2? We don't talk about step 2.
Yeah, we don't talk about. Who knows? Maybe releasing the game is a good step 2.
No.
I talked about the show when we were talking about we were talking about the spring shows we were most anticipating.
I remember.
And I talked a little bit about the gaming, like the game porn, which I was worried that would be just like Idol Incidents or Idol Jihan, which released the anime prior to the game. The game was slated for like 2015, was released only in 2017 and lasted 3 months, something like that. So I'm worried that will happen with Uma Musume, but it's a side game, so not that worried about it. Basically, you follow Special Week, which was a champion horse and horse racing in Japan. It won a big championship and got good results on all the championships and also against foreigners' horses. And basically, she wants to be the best horse girl that ever existed. It's just that it is a maybe sport anime. I don't know because they race.
Actually, I'm on the second trailer here for the live stream, and I've seen this girl trip like 4 times.
Yeah, but she's very good. She's very good. Special Week was a very good horse, and you can see by the lineage. A lot of the characters in this show are actually children, or I'll call them children. Children of Special Week with another character of there's in the show, which is a mare. They have a bunch of children, and they are also champions in Japan. So it was a very good horse. There's a lot of horse racing stuff involved. So if you don't understand, you probably will be left out. I have a bunch of useless knowledge, and for some reason I know about horse racing. It was very popular in Brazil until the 80s, so I know some stuff about it. It's still very popular, but without the betting. And they change a little some facts of history, like Special Week winning Japan Cup. It didn't happen in real life, but it happens there.
Oh, so it's not even faithful to reality? Oh my god.
Yeah, Silent Suzuka, which is also a character in the show. It was a racing mare. She got hurt during the race, and in this real life she got retired because she couldn't race anymore. In the anime they put her back to race. I'm fine with that. Maybe following the history more and having Silent Suzuka not being able to run again would be better, but It was fun regardless. Also, a big problem with the show is the fact it is based on a game that isn't released. So sometimes they will show a game mechanic on the anime and it will feel kind of out of normal because it is a game mechanic of a game that isn't released, so no one knows it is a game mechanic. So why are they talking about this? If you watch Idolmaster Cinderella Girls, Cinderella Girls, not Starlight Stage, just Idolmaster Cinderella Girls, you see that they talk about the Idolmaster Cinderella Girls game mechanics in the anime as well, but it isn't out of place because people know about those mechanics. In Uma Musume Pretty, there's a lot of instances they are talking about those game mechanics, but they feel out of place. And sometimes they will talk about things that are also out of place, but you don't know if it's a game mechanic or not. So like there's a lot of instances you don't know what they are doing. But regardless, it is well animated. It is interesting to see. I enjoy.
Do we get to know the county's #1 horse girl at the end?
I think it's the fucking school president because she has the triple crawl. She's a triple crawl. Horse.
Are you one to pay attention to the Kentucky Derby and other famous races, or no?
I mean, they are all pretty derbies, so they are all pretty cute girls. I don't. Like, it is interesting. You can learn a little bit of the history of horse racing in Japan as well. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting. It is very interesting to see those wacky animes that sometimes brought out those random ideas the Japanese have.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you liked it, Hickey.
Yeah, I'm glad I liked it as well, because I can fucking wait for the game. Please, side games, just release this shit already. Okay.
Oh god. Alright, is it time to talk about Megalobox?
It is time to talk about Megalobox.
Oh boy. Tori, where do we start? Hickey, did you finish the show in time?
I finished it.
Oh boy, alright. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you totally finished it.
It wasn't that bad.
I imagine it's an easy show to binge, but Tori and I got to watch this thing weekly, essentially.
Because it is very entertaining and the music is very good, so the episode passed by quick.
Yeah, I guess it went by pretty quick. Yeah, do that.
Yeah, so like you don't feel the fatigue of binge watching this anime. Because you are always entertained. Always entertaining. Although some of the choices they did in the anime, regardless to directing and camera angles and what they were showing to the viewer or not, can be questionable. They set a bar to the hype of the show and never go under it. So it's very good. It keeps you entertained. It can maintain that level of entertainment, even though sometimes they. Okay.
I disagree with that.
At least that's how I felt binge watching the show.
My problem are, I mean, I might as well say I'm planning on making a video, hopefully sometime in the future, soon, where I want to talk more about this. But basically, and here's one of my problems with this, and this is here's kind of one of my problems with this show. The problem I have is that it was advertised as a kind of like they were obviously celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Ashita no Joe manga,
right?
Which is a very famous sports manga, boxing manga, arguably one of the greatest sports manga of all time. And so obviously, basically right off the gate, it sets its own hurdle pretty high. And we've obviously talked about Ashita no Joe, the anime here, on this cast.
This is our very first episode for the anime cast.
And it is pretty good. Very good, I would even say. But then kind of comes Megalobox, because one of the things that I feel like kind of fails Megalobox is that it sets its own hurdle incredibly high, and then kind of proceeds to show off, in my opinion, things that you would find in shows like Ashita no Joe, or hell, even Hajime no Ippo, if you will, but performed worse. One of the problems is obviously the fact that it is only 13 episodes, and if you know about the Ashita no Joe formula, you'll know that the build-ups mean a lot, and the build-ups take time. They don't have time for build-up in Megalobox. It has to be in constant execution mode, essentially. So, and that takes the sting out of a lot of fights, whether it's because the fight is not built up at all, which is kind of Joe's first fight, or the later ones where they actually do build them up. And
yeah, they build up.
Again, they kind of just end. They build up more than one, but like it kind of just ends. It's like, oh, they're fighting. Oh, he's having a hard time. That's it. Stop. He won. It's like, oh, okay, fair enough. So, and that's to me, that abrupt stop every time always took me out of it, and just kind of, again, one of the problems is just the fact that you're using the name of Ashita no Joe to kind of gain promotion. But that is a very, very dangerous thing to do. Because by using the name of Ashita no Joe, expectations from people like me are rising. Because now I'm expecting a lot from you. And when you then don't deliver, I'm kind of stuck here saying, like going, I might as well just watch I might as well have just watched Ashita no Joe for the 50th anniversary, right? Or read the manga.
This show started out with so much hype. As soon as you start that first episode, even the first 3, I would say, you're enthralled with the world. You get to the art style is very unique to it. The characters, the music, it's all kind of like an homage to the late 90s as well. And as you said, Tori, the way it sets up, or at least tries to, these fights, because at the end of the day, it's about Junk Dog trying to, I guess, prove himself that he's not, just this underground what's the word I want to use here? He wants to prove that he's actually worth something, I suppose.
He wants to prove that he's the real deal.
Yeah, he's the real deal. So he goes into this thing called Megalomania, boxing championship, but the boxing involves the robot arms that are attached to their bodies. But his little gimmick is that he doesn't have any robot arms. Because he just can't afford them. He's from the underground. There was, I get why, like, the first couple fights were set up the way they were. He just has to get into it. He's a ragtag guy. Gets along the gimmick. The problem is that it beats this to death, and that's kind of its only way of executing every single fight. So once I was very hyped. I'm like, okay, cool. He fought back. He overcame the odds. It felt like I was watching a wrestling show almost. And then after you see it the 3rd time, the 4th time, the 5th time, like, if he just does if I know how every fight's gonna end, why am I watching this?
It's like you're it's like you're watching a wrestling show where the guy who's getting fucking destroyed always wins out at the end when he gets that last fucking punch in and then pins him. Yeah.
Well, there's a wrestler right now who's exactly like this. Like, right now in WWE. Like, that's what this reminded me of. The worst part that got to me was there was one character fight where he fought this, like, war veteran. He was tied to the Joe's trainer. They had a deep past. They went into that. That was built up. That was, to me, the only thing that was built up in the show at all. The characters were sort of built. Joe was kind of built. They could have done a better job with that. The trainer was hardly built. His whole shtick was he lost his eye, with a botched, deal with the mob. Then there's stupid shit that involves with that, but they never go into anything. The only thing they went into was this one boxer that went to the war and lost his legs, and now he's fighting without legs. And I was like, why can't the show be about that guy? That would have been more interesting.
Yeah. Not to me.
That was cool. And that was the only fight that ended differently.
Yeah, but I mean, that to me is kind of what I mean when I said that it ties itself too much to Ashton and Joe, because you can basically pick out any fight that happens in Megalobox and find a similar counterpart in Ashton and Joe.
Sure.
But except, way more build-up and a lot more tense. Because
a lot more tense, a lot more depth behind everything.
Yeah,
okay,
because,
take this.
Same.
Take this, for example. The whole show of Megalobox is built off of him fighting Yuri, the major champion.
I wonder who that is.
At the end. And it's a direct mirror of Rikishi from Ashita no Joe.
Mm-hmm.
There's even a mirrored instance where Yuri takes off the integrated robot arms and he has to go through a night of enduring pain and everything. I was like, oh, okay, so this is exactly like the dehydration sequence Rikishi went through in Ashita no Joe. The difference being that the dehydration sequence went across a few episodes, and it was, they kept going back to him, and he's freaking out. He's overcoming, stopping himself from drinking water and not making weight. In Megalobox, he takes off the robot arms. One guy goes, he's gonna go through hell tonight. It cuts to him once where he's just kind of going, it hurts. And then it cuts to the next day, I'm fine. Oh, okay. Drama, I guess.
I think it'd been 3 days or something, but yeah.
You don't even know how much time. When I was watching, I go, oh, okay, one night. Is that all it was? If you say it was 3 nights, I totally missed it.
I don't remember if it was exactly 3 nights, but I do remember it was he goes through that, and then it's fucking.
Or they just say it was 3 nights or something.
Yeah, and then Shiraki or whatever her name was, shows up, to look, because she thinks he's there, obviously. And it's he's been like this since last night, and it's oh, time has passed. Okay.
It's okay, I guess. You couldn't have shown us that time was passing anyway? You just go, no, time passed. Okay, I guess it did. And so it builds up. The whole show was building up for that fight, and then they don't even show it to you. It just ends.
Yeah. Also, I need to know. Did you guys like the the way they kind of tried to trick your belief of what's going to happen? You know what I'm talking about. The way they end at the start of every episode, the episode title, and the end every time, the not dead yet part. Did anyone appreciate that?
Yeah, not dead yet, where every fight was Joe gets pummeled to basically death, and he gets up at the 10 count.
See, the way I look at this is, the way I see it is that is a direct reference to, obviously, Ashton and Joe. And without, going into why that is, I did not appreciate that at the end when the ending comes around. Because I'm I know what you did. I know what you wanted people to believe.
Yeah, the fact, there wasn't much cross-countering. There at all.
0 cross counters.
There was 0 of them. I'm what? How do you how do you make a referential show? And I thought that was what it was building up to in that last fight, was this one major cross counter and epic little homage there. No, okay, I guess we get nothing. We don't even get any. This is the most disappointing anime I have seen in a long time. With how it started, its potential, and its journey to how it ended, it was just this heavy downturn, and it never stopped. There was never a moment where my hype got back up or anything. I was it just felt like I was on a roller coaster and I'd already gone off the top and the rest was just a straightaway.
Yep.
And I knew the ride was going to end.
Were very high. Mine weren't. First, I haven't watched Shit on the Joe. Second, what you call nice character design, I call cutting corners, which is a common use where you consider cutting corners with the character design and character animation when the defined lines of the character are not that defined. They have little failures on it, kind of white spots. Those are cutting corners in the animation. How close the camera angles were because they didn't want you to show much of the scene because it's less to animate. Having sequences where they don't show anything, maybe just the back of the character moving back and forth, repeated animation and so on. So my expectation, it wasn't that high. Also,
I'm not even talking
I knew they would cut
that.
a lot of corners with the story and what they would show me because of the time they had to make a box anime or box animes or any martial art anime usually takes a lot of time. Usually they are more than 30 episodes. Then being disappointed because the show didn't have a lot of time and they should have shown more or had more episodes, kind of go against the idea of Tori always talk about, which is we shouldn't analyze the anime as they should have more episodes, but analyze it in the length of episodes they would have. So being now and saying, no, because Ashita no Joe had 50 episodes, makes the show kind of bad because they didn't have this time and they should have, because, I wanted to see most of the fight. I think this is a little bit hypocritical on your guys' part. But again, I didn't have this nostalgia. I didn't have the Ashita no Joe in mind. I had the music, I had the cutting corners, and I think they did a fine job, and I was entertained, binge watching the show. Of course, marketing yourself as a Ashita no Joe 50th year anniversary show was a bad move, extremely bad move. I wouldn't go, especially because since it's Ashita no Joe, I wouldn't go with the futuristic thing. I would go more with the Creed. Creed is a kind of a spin-off future part of the Rocky series. I'll do something in that manner, not what they did with Megalobox. It kind of became something that I know a little bit of Ashita no Joe because I listened to the cast after and I researched a little bit of Ashita no Joe before the cast, so it wasn't lost, although I didn't participate in the Ashita no Joe discussion. It's not Ashita no Joe. It's, although you have some homage to fights, it is not, and they shouldn't have marketed as a Ashita no Joe homage like they did. The show would be better. The show would be less disappointing, possibly.
I would still disagree with that.
Those are marketing things, but they are marketing things they need to do because it's a Ashita no Joe anniversary thing.
Yeah, but that's fine. But again, here's kind of my problem. My problem isn't simply the fact that it's marketed as an Ashita no Joe thing. The problem is the fact that yes, Ashita no Joe does not even only have 50 episodes. It's got a second season as well. It is, so it's even longer. My problem is the fact that not only does it market itself as being Ashita no Joe, not only is the characters resemblance of Ashita no Joe characters, not only are they literally borrowing the personalities, the fights are going fairly accurately as well as the ones that go in Ashita no Joe. The fact of the matter is that they have 13 episodes to tell a story, and with that story, they decided to get as much inspiration as they possibly could and kind of copy a lot of the groundwork or the skeleton of how Ashita no Joe would go about building up its story. But again, that's kind of what it becomes. It becomes the skeleton of how Ashita no Joe would portray its story. And they borrow a lot more from Ashita no Joe than I feel like they ever should have, because they don't have the time to pull what Ashita no Joe did. And that's kind of my point.
Well,
My point is that, this should have had more episodes. My point is that, this should have kind of let go of Ashita no Joe a bit more and tried to go more down its own route.
I don't think they should have. I think instead of the slow build, they should have focused on strong punches. Jokes.
Yeah.
Just that strong emotion. Evoking strong emotions within the preparation to the fight, which they kind of tried off at the end. Just at the end. But the first, they didn't. So like if they went to introducing something, the problem, and strong punch. Someone died, or someone killed, someone got lost the legs and things like that. If they went with every time they went with that, I think the show would be better, and regardless to the Ashita no Joe part.
Yeah. No, like, the thing is, I don't hate Megalobox. Like, looking at Megalobox by itself, it tries to do what it can with its limited time, and some things is not handled very well, and some things are handled fine. But, like, ultimately, I don't hate the show. I think the show does okay with what is presented. The soundtrack is fantastic. It's got certain moments of animation where it's just, that is good, but I don't think the idea of going back to cell animation for that was the best idea, but right, that's how they decided to go about it. And but yeah, so you have a lot of that, and I do like I do think it's okay looking at Megalobox by itself, like it's an okay show. But the fact of the matter is, I can't look at I can't look at Megalobox and not think of Ashita no Joe, because it doesn't want to even try to separate itself from Ashita no Joe in any way.
I think it was a middle ground, to be honest. It wanted, but it couldn't. Or it could or didn't want to. Something in those lines.
Possibly, but that doesn't really make a difference.
Since it was lost between not being an Ashita no Joe and being Ashita no Joe, a lot of the problems came to light because of that.
See, my issue does. That's only a small part of it. When I can directly compare, in the end, I felt like every fight was lazily executed. It wasn't. Every fight felt the same. Every single one, and they all ended the same. Where Joe takes a pummeling, he gets up, one punch, the guy's down. Where these even though this is based, it's supposed to be based on our reality. These guys are fighting with robot arms, right? And here I am meant to believe that Junk Dog here can take a beating multiple times within this frame in a fight from these robot arms, while these guys who are the top of the world can only take one hit from him without the robot arms. That's just that was too much.
They're relying on technology. They can't handle it. Their bodies aren't trained to take a punch or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It's just like Toru Majutsu no Index.
Yeah. Yes. Nah. Honestly, I'm not even joking. I would have rather wished that Megalobox, rather than taking inspiration from Ashita no Joe, it should have taken inspiration from Ping Pong the Animation, because that's a sports anime that managed to do the most out of its 11-episode run.
Right. I would have rather this show focus, first of all, like I said earlier, focus on the dude without the legs. He was a much more interesting character. I felt they went into more depth on his character in one backstory episode than they did ever with Junk Dog. And that's unacceptable.
What's funny though? I think that was supposed to build up Nambu.
Yeah, and it wasn't even about like Joe fighting him, or it was meant for the trainer. It's like, I don't give a shit about the trainer. All you did was portray him as an asshole.
Yeah, go on.
It was. I would have rather they did that fight, right, and then showed a kind of a slew of matches where Joe is fighting his like next 4 opponents, and he's just beating these guys, and then you have, you know, your 3-4 episodes building up to Yuri, and then you actually fucking finish that fight. And
I like building up to Yuri.
You what? Oh god.
I like building up to Yuri.
I was fucking Yuri on my span, it's like telling you.
But yeah, because then you could have had, you know, more interaction with Yuri and Joe. You could have gone into Joe's backstory better, built up his character, you know, overcoming odds more, instead of us seeing the same fight multiple times with no backstory. They must have went into Joe and Nanbu's little issue with the mob multiple times, and then that was just resolved with the single like nonsense moment. So many things in the show were poorly executed, in my opinion.
He was a man. Yep.
He was a man. I won't kill him anymore. Forget it.
Yep.
Like,
but yeah, I think we can talk about Megalobox forever, and but I'll just say we just put the lid on that for now, and then move on.
I'm curious to what everyone scored the show. I ended up giving it a 5.
I give it a 6.
Yeah.
I didn't give a score yet. I forgot about it.
It sounds like you would have given it a 7 or 8.
6 is fine. A 6? No, a 5. A 5. 5 is good.
Okay.
All right.
Scores 1 on every single aspect of the show, and then I enjoyed it, so yeah, a 5.
Got it. Hickey gave it a 10.
Yeah. So disappointing, because I came into the show like thinking 9 after those first like couple episodes, and then to end it, and I'm only giving it a 5. That's not good.
Yeah, no, I started getting frustrated very early on.
If you were another fan, definitely I'm sure Advance would be the most disappointing thing you ever watched.
Hey man, don't say that.
So, well, that was fun. That was the spring season.
Show.
Yep.
That's what we covered from the spring season, and I'm gonna play this quick drop here, and we can quickly go through the summer anime outlook and our moving bar, and then on to Future Boy Conan. So, I will play... Fuck it, this one. Alright, that took forever to cover the spring season. And now, we are on the summer season. We're not talking about Attack on Titan. That's 3rd season. We know what Attack on Titan is, so moving on.
It's winter for me, but it is summer.
It is summer here, winter. It is Hickey's winter season.
Slightly colder summer.
Slightly colder summer, yeah.
All right. So my first show, and I'm gonna be totally honest. When I looked at the summer anime season and its releases, not too excited, guys. Not a lot of shows coming out, considering we just come off spring where I gave 30 shows a try total. And now I'm only about like 4. So
what are you talking about? There's like 5 isekai anime coming,
and I'm not watching any of those. So my show here. I mean,
according to my friend, you should watch How to Not Summon a Demon Lord.
Yeah, no.
And he convinced me to not watch it 3 or 4 months ago, saying it was a horrible shit. But now he wants me to watch, and he's gonna watch because it is a horrible shit. So I don't know what is going on. Yeah, check it out.
It's been that show's been described to me as it's trash, and it's trash you've come to expect.
Yeah, but it's not even the worst trash this season. It's not even this. It's actually the best this season.
It should be New Life Plus, but it got cancelled because of racism.
All right, so we all right. So my show here is Banana Fish. Greatest title, I must say. You're gay.
Yes.
Nature made Ash Lynx beautiful. Nurture made him a cold, ruthless killer. A runaway brought up as the adopted heir of sex toy Papa Dino Goldzine. So he's he basically gives his body up to Mr. Mob Boss here, and they make some gay jokes.
So.
Yeah, a couple. Ash, now at the rebellious age of 17, as one does, forsakes the kingdom held out by the devil who raised him. But the hideous secret that drove Ash's older brother mad in Vietnam has suddenly fallen into Papa's insatiably ambitious hands, and it's exactly the wrong time for Eiji Okamura, a pure-hearted young photographer from Japan, to make his acquaintance. So, I've already seen the first episode of this, and I quite like the direction it's going. It seems a lot more mature. I like this idea of a crazy drug being peddled around, and the main character has a reason to give a shit about everything. So, I'm quite excited for this show. It's probably my number one show I've been hyped up for the season for, and I look forward to more.
Alright. Okay then. So, the first show that I want to talk about is Hanabado, or, the badminton player of Ayano Hanasaki, that's the one. Apparently that's the title. I don't think so, but okay. This is a badminton anime. It's a sports anime, guys. Get excited.
We just watched
Yay! Keijo characters appearing out of nowhere.
There are Keijo characters in this one, really.
Is it in the same universe?
No.
Okay.
No.
They're not related at all, but they just look like... There's like one character that looks like the main character.
The mother and one of the friends of her mother, like of one of the characters, which should be the main character apparently. They look just like the main characters of Keijo.
Yeah.
So like there's a joke going that they're Keijo characters, the Keijo characters.
But basically, just to get us over it, like the synopsis: Ayano Hanasaki, a first-year student at Kanagawa Prefectural Kitakomachi High School, has a badminton ability able to surpass others effortlessly, yet avoids playing the sport. She meets Nagisa Aragaki, a third-year student who practices day and night, aiming to become the best player in Japan. Encouraged by coach Tachibana Kentaro, supported by club colleagues, and fired up by various rivals, the two engage in their youth and adored sports so thrilling, like a shuttle flown at high speed. What the fuck is the synopsis? But whatever. I read a bit of the manga, and the manga is actually very bad. I don't like the manga at all. But so going into this, I was not optimistic. I was expecting this to be very bad, but the PVs they showed us showed some really good badminton animation. But honestly, they changed a lot from the manga, and I am happy about that. There's a lot of stuff that has been changed. They've toned down characters a lot, because some of the characters, especially the main character, Ayano Hanasaki, she is actually a fucking retard in the manga. She is way less retarded in the actual show. So that's always good. At least she doesn't pretend to be a monkey. So that's nice. Whatever. Like, basically, it's your typical. They say typical. It's about this girl. She doesn't want to play badminton anymore because she was abandoned by her mother.
Of course she was.
Or because she lost, and so her mother's a superstar badminton player who, for as far as we know now, she just one day left, and kind of took up an apprentice. So I know she has loved. She's loved badminton her entire life, but she doesn't want to play anymore. But her friend kind of pulls her into the badminton club because she knows that she loves badminton, even though she doesn't want to admit it. There, the badminton club has kind of got some problems. The captain is abusing the other players because she is mad because she lost against exactly Ayano in the tournament, where she couldn't even score a single fucking point against her. Because kind of Ayano, she is the natural talent. She is left-handed. She is naturally she is pretty fit and just kind of pretty good at what she does. She's got a pretty defensive play style, so she pretty much returns everything. And the other one, she has kind of got more of a Nagisa, I think her name is. She has got more of a offensive. She loves her smash, and she has kind of always been the product of hard work. She grew up tall, but everyone kind of said that she was natural, but only she knows that she is not at all a natural. She's just tall. And other than that, she has had to work hard to get to where she is. So to then kind of just be denied completely in a match kind of left her broken. And because the badminton club doesn't exactly have any other players capable of playing at their level, she can't really improve. She doesn't have anyone capable of improving her abilities. So
Is
she's
there a
kind of
coach
in
on
this
the team?
slump. No,
Of course not.
but that is the start of the story. There comes a coach,
Ah.
a former Olympic badminton player who had to retire due to an injury. So yeah, and he kind of wants to build this club up and hopefully develop them to the point where they are going to be capable of going out challenging for an Olympic gold medal in badminton, because Japan's pretty good at badminton. So yeah, that's kind of essentially what it is. There's a lot of melodrama in it. There's a lot of just badminton play in general, and quite frankly, I've watched 3 episodes so far.
Like Dive.
It's like most sports anime, but I wouldn't say. But
like
it's by
the anime Dive that came out. That's kind of what the premise was: a natural versus a person with with crazy talent. A coach comes in. The goal is the gold medal. It's the exact same plot.
Well, yes, except they're not the
gold medal with like going to the Olympics. Just save the club. I've watched
he wants them to win the gold medal. But like the Ayano and Nagisa, they're not actually. Well, I mean, they will be rivals. They're in the same club, but they are teammates, not actual. There are other rivals. There's a whole bunch of other people that will kind of make their appearance. But ultimately, it's a sports anime, and the animation, especially for the badminton play, is pretty damn good. And so far, I watched 3 episodes and I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
I've heard people complain that it's really harping down on the talent versus hard work trope. It's really hitting that home hard.
I mean, yes, but the fact that the matter is that
this is just what I've seen online.
No, I know, but I don't think that's fair. Yes, there is talent versus hard work, because obviously they have that thing where it's like one of them, she is the daughter of a fucking Olympic gold medalist, badminton player,
right?
And she is left-handed, which obviously means you will destroy everyone who is right-handed. That's just common, people right-handed players can't play against left-handed players. That's their ultimate counter.
Bullshit.
That is true.
There is actually some truth in it, but not the ultimate counter. But it is weird playing against a left-hander, especially if you don't know that they're left-handed beforehand.
I played tennis. Lefties were all you have to do is adjust your play.
Yes, obviously.
Volleyball, for example.
Same thing in
left-handed in volleyball, you're gonna destroy everything.
Yeah. Especially, because the problem is, you will instinctively try to. It's kind of like if you go up against someone left hand, you'll try to hit towards their weaker hand. But what you don't know is that you're actually hitting to the stronger hand.
But you do know that.
Not only that, but the defensive techniques, they are aimed at training you against right-handed people.
Yep.
So when a left-handed smash it or any other technique they use, you're going to react as it was a right-handed person hitting it, and it is not ideal.
I disagree. When I was coached in tennis, it was always hit to your opponent's backhand.
I watch a lot of volleyball.
Oh, yeah.
I know that left-handed
always hit to the
people,
backhand. You know what their backhand is. You're like, oh, that person's left-handed. Backhand.
You don't necessarily know.
Yeah,
not necessarily the exact same in badminton, but yes.
Have you tried to play against a tennis, like a left-handed tennis player, when they are closer to the net?
Yeah, there's no time to react to that shit, right or left-handed.
Yeah.
But this isn't tennis. This is badminton.
Not a good sport. Yeah.
I can't believe you talked about a badminton anime and didn't say shuttlecock once. I'm very disappointed in you, Tori.
You caught out what?
I'm very disappointed you talked about a badminton anime and didn't say shuttlecock one time.
There was no need to.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's the birdie. Shuttlecock.
The what?
It's another net. Oh my god.
Oh,
you guys.
Okay.
You think I've seen badminton before? I don't like sports, but I'm not a badminton guy.
You've never played badminton before in your life?
I've played badminton gym classes 2 times, but other than that, no.
You didn't know what the birdie or the shuttlecock was called? Oh, come on, guys.
They didn't teach that shit. That was irrelevant. All you needed to know was how to hit that fucking thing.
I only start to realize there's something called badminton in 2012 in the Olympics. Prior to that, I didn't even knew there was something called badminton. I mean, I knew there was a sport with that name, but I've never watched it prior to 2012.
Bummer.
It is not popular here. So I was laughing the entire time during Hanebado, that's for sure, because it is as funny as it can get. There's a thing going on with the comedy anime and Hanebado this season, which is people being assholes to each other. And Hanebado is full of that, that's for sure.
There are definitely assholes.
Especially the captain. Yeah, the captain is just too much for me. I was just laughing.
She's chilled out.
All right, guys. Hickey, what is your first summer anime album?
My first one, talking about people being assholes to each other, is Asobi Asotase, which basically tells the story of Hanako, a girl who wants to be popular, Olivia, which is a faithful Ragnar, which hates playing and hates having fun, playing some traditional Japanese games. And, that is basically it, and being assholes to each other in the process. Very fun. 2 episodes out so far. The first episode was very fun, especially with the teacher. There's a part of the teacher where they are playing with a inflatable pool inside of a classroom, and the teacher comes by and sees the water leaking out of the classroom. And he's like, "Are you guys playing a pool?" And Hanako says, "No, it's Olivia P." So the guy just goes and tastes the water and is like, "I tasted it, it's not pee, it's just water." So there's a lot of creepy things.
Weird.
The second episode was less funny. Yeah, but regardless, it's just situational jokes about the girls being little pieces of shit and assholes to each other every time they have a chance. Very fun. Very, very fun. Definitely a watch.
Nichijou-esque,
Definitely
you
a
might say?
recommendation.
In the Google.
I wouldn't exactly compare it to Nichijou. It's not like
Grand Blue.
That is good. Grand Blue, yeah. I mean, yeah, kinda, but even still, I still think there's differences. But the most important thing, obviously, about Asobi Asotase, it's that goddamn ending. I fucking love that ending.
Oh, yeah. The metal ending. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. I was so confused when that started playing, because the show, like the first episode of the show is very... It deceives you. So the like the opening sequence, where they are friendly to each other, and they are happy, and the music is happy, and then you have the first episode where it's just like weird, sadistic faces, and they betting stuff, doing very dangerous things, and then you go to the ending, and it is just metal.
Yep.
It is awesome. It is definitely the best ending of the season.
I love the fact that they decided to get the voice actresses to sing both the opening and the ending. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I hope it turns out well then, and it can keep up the pace. So, my second one is one that not just the community that we're in. Also, a couple others I'm a part of. Everyone who knows me goes, "JD, you must watch Grand Blue." I'm like,
this is hilarious.
It wasn't on my list.
Yes.
No, you should watch Grand Blue. Hickey, you go, "JD, you should watch Grand Blue."
Yes, people being assholes to each other. Again, it is a common theme, this is.
And I know nothing about the show, so I'm taking everyone at their word. And as far as I know, it's about a guy who goes to college, and he wants to have a bunch of college mischief. If I'm to sum up the summary here, he basically wants to be a frat boy and bang a bunch of chicks and drink with buddies. Am I getting this right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
yeah, he wants the college experience.
No. You're completely wrong, JD. He obviously diving. This is all about diving. This is a diving show.
Yeah. This
is the male version of a Manchu, right?
Yep. Oh no!
I'm watching the PV for the first time now. This is as much as I've seen. So we got some ripped dudes.
I think the PV was deceiving as well because they show diving in the PV, and if I'm sure, like they don't dive in the manga until like chapter 50.
There's some attractive girl.
The PV was quite deceiving.
PV is deceiving. That for sure is.
The PV is deceiving as it can be. Also, the cover art as well for the show, they're diving. I was like, what the fuck?
But one of the things
change the story to be an actual diving show.
Yeah. One of the things that's nice about this, especially, is the fact that this is also directed by the same guy who did Nichibro. So the director, he knows his comedy.
All right. Here's hoping I enjoy it. Then.
With the character face like covering part of the screen as something dumb happened in the background. It's straight out of Nichijou. Yeah.
I tried watching a bit of the other anime I tried watching this season that just released on Netflix is the new Baki the Grappler, and that show's a piece of shit.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's bad.
I've heard the exact opposite. All right.
No, it's not good. And then Angel Massacre is the other one, but we won't talk about that. So.
Yeah. When we finish this episode, you should go and watch the fucking Grand Tour. It's been 2 episodes out already.
Dude, yeah. I promise you're gonna laugh.
Awesome.
The other show that people seem to be at least going around the woodworks is Cells at Work. The one, basically Osmosis Jones, but with Moe girls. It's supposed to be pretty good. It's Osmosis Jones, but JoJo Moe or something, as it was described to me by a person.
JoJo's Moe, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever wanted to see a white blood cell covered in red blood from the bacteria he's killing?
Just going ham.
Running around going, kill.
All right, Tori, what's your next one?
My next one is speaking of characters being assholes
to each other.
I am going to talk about a show called Jashin-chan Dropkick, or as they so appropriately named it in English, Dropkick on My Devil. And when I say appropriately, I mean that's clearly incorrect. It's not Dropkick on My Devil. It's the devil that's doing the drop kicking. But that's irrelevant. Jashin,
she already has a figure, by the way. Jashin. So I can wait for the goth Lolita figure.
Yeah, of course it is. Basically, you have this. You have Yurina Hanasona. She is a gothic Lolita, and she has summoned the devil. That's Jashin-chan, literally. And there's a bunch of other there going around, kind of not exactly. Some of them are demons, some of them are kind of from other mythologies, but it works. It's fine. And then essentially, Jashin-chan, the devil, and Yurina, they live together in the same room, in the same apartment, and basically, this is a slapstick comedy. Except for it's not just like, oh, you walked on a banana peel and slipped and hit yourself, or you got punched, or someone dropped something on you. No. This is about Jashin-chan, who's trying to return to hell. But in order to do so, she needs to kill Yurina. So she repeatedly tries to kill her. She fails. Yurina gets pissed. And she brutally murders Jashin-chan every time. In just increasingly sadistic and horrible ways. Like suspending her over a bathtub and kind of just start making incisions on her and fucking slowly drain her of her blood to cool her down because it's hot outside. It is my type of comedy. Because it is fucking brutal, and I love it.
It's Fudokoro-chan. It goes Fudokoro-chan mode sometimes.
Yeah, it really does. And it's just a lot of jokes in there. Like from everything, from brutal jokes to kind of just more like, to kind of like small burns even. In the second episode, there are currently 2 episodes out. And that was in the second episode, they made a joke where it's like, they're poor. It's hot outside, so and they don't have much money, so they can't really get an AC. So they have to just deal with fans because they can't afford it. And it's like, why are we so poor? And it's just like, well, see, it's it's because we're being published by, and then they named their publishing company. That's like if we were published by a bigger company, we wouldn't have to suffer this fate. And then it's like, yeah, somebody who actually cares about their writers. So it's like they got a lot of different jokes lying around, but for the most part, it's slapstick comedy. It's violent slapstick comedy, and I love it.
Well, alrighty then. Moving on. Icky.
Moving on.
Your last one.
Talking about people being assholes to each other.
I see a theme.
Yeah. My next show I was very interesting to watch this summer was Chiyo-chan no Tsugakuro, or Chiyo's School Road. Basically tells a story of a girl called Chiyo, and while she's walking to school. But she really, really likes games, so she usually end up gaming until the morning, like 30, and usually is almost late to school. So as she's trying to get to school, a bunch of weird stuff happen in her way there. Sometimes involving her friends Manana, which is a nerd who wants to be popular. You got the captain of the Kabaddi club, and one of the most famous girls in school, as they walk through school doing some weird stuff. It is very fun, although the anime adaptation has a little bit of problems because it's done by Dio Media and they are cutting corners a lot.
Yeah.
But I really like this show, not only because I enjoy the manga, but I also enjoy the mangaka. The guy is like the best person ever that ever existed. He does live streams. He live streams his work, every part of the production of the manga, from planning the chapter to finishing the chapter. Really cool guy. He doesn't speak English, but if you go there and start speaking English to him, he will stop working to go on Google Translate and explain to you what is going on and explain what the story of the manga is about. Really cool guy. I really appreciate him. That's why I'm also watching the show. And I already read the manga, so I know a bunch of funny things are coming out, especially the game references, like the first episode of the Assassin's Creed and things like that. Also, the assholes part. It is very funny. I don't know about the manga, like about the anime adaptation, because again, Dio Media is cutting a lot of corners, but the manga is definitely a goal, and I think some publisher on the United States pick it up to publish, so you should definitely buy it if you have the chance. I won't say the internet thing free stuff because I really like the mangaka and you should buy the manga.
All right. Interesting summer anime outlook here, especially coming from you guys. You seem to be on the theme of people being dicks to each other.
Basically, well, if you want good shows this season,
almost a year. So like you should know we like being assholes to each other, especially towards you.
Yeah,
I suppose I should see it coming.
Yeah, but seriously though, like if you're looking for good shows this season, look for two things: people being assholes to each other and comedy. That seems to be gold this season.
Yeah,
you separate comedy from people being assholes to each other just to have Hanebado in it. You fuck.
I don't know. There might be other shows with assholes to it.
Oh, fuck off. Of course you are. Come on. Does Hanebado qualifies as... I mean, there is... Haruka receive, one of the characters is also asshole to another girl in the first episode out of nowhere.
That happens again. But Haruka receive is, do you like beach volleyball? No, me neither. But I do like hot chicks in swimsuits. So Hey.
I cannot look past the fucking proportions in that show.
I kind of see. They start messing with their heights a lot as well. It's like the tall chick is now just as tall as her cousin, stuff like that. That's kind of like, no, stop.
Yeah, she's changing. She's changing height a lot during the show.
Yeah,
this is the problem when you get the proportions wrong when you're drawing. Characters change height out of nowhere.
I'd say they're just not measuring their characters at all.
Almost 180 centimeters to 155. So, like, yeah, no. But it's fun. It is fun. I also like chicks in swimsuits, especially thighs, the very thigh swimsuits, because it's, you don't want the sand to get inside of your gums.
Yep. Of course. Yep. The only reason.
No, it's not.
Well, all right. So as we do, we like covering what we call the moving bar. And what the moving bar is we each pick a show that that is now eligible for review. So we have a rule that says the show has to be at least 15 years old from today's date, based on season. And my first show I'm going to cover is Full Metal Panic Fumofu is now qualified. And it is a sequel to Full Metal Panic, but it's focused on a comedy-esque spin-off of Chidori and Sosuke, as Sosuke takes over this this mascot persona. He also wears a costume, and he just causes mischief throughout the episodes. I haven't seen it, but everyone speaks very highly of it. I actually just got it on Blu-ray fairly recently, so it does qualify now, and it has an 8.15 on Mal, so it must mean it's it's worth something.
You say that.
I say that.
Yeah.
Should Fumofu qualify as being part of Amagi Brilliant Part in Universe?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, so basically, since the one that I picked was Shadow Star Narutaru. And basically, just to kind of sum it up real quick, go for the synopsis of Mal again. During her summer holiday at her grandparents' house, Tamai Shina, a young and cheerful schoolgirl, meets a strange-looking creature. They befriend each other, and Shina names it Hoshimaru, the round star. When Shina returns home after the summer to go back to school, she starts meeting other kids. They also have befriended a strange creature like Hoshimaru, but she soon finds out that not all these creatures and their masters are as friendly as Hoshimaru. This show I've only seen in pictures, and it looks fucking weird. That's why I'm gonna watch it at some point.
At some point.
At some point.
Well, yeah.
Studio recommend it, and we can watch together and review it.
All right. And Hickey, what's your movie bar show?
First of all, it was pushed on me, this show.
Oh, please.
Read or Die. I really like Read or Die. Okay? I really like Read or Die. But it was chosen Nick Dawson. The complete opposite of Read or Die.
You know you love it. You know you love it.
I know I love it. I also know it. Yeah, I love it. But still, Read or Die. Watch it. Really good. The OVAs and the TV series, which is the one from summer 2003. But, the synopsis is too big. It would just kind of shorten it. Iktosen is a martial art fighting anime with very fragile clothing and really, really short skirts.
Yeah.
It is loosely based. Yeah, it is loosely based on the Three Kingdom romance.
Yeah. That's right.
And the Kanto region of Japan is locked in a turf war between 7 schools. And in those 7 schools, you have girls who are fighting each other with these skimpy clothes and fragile. They explode from time to time. And in this context, the main character called... I don't remember her name.
That's okay.
What is her name?
That's fine. Main girl.
Main girl.
Hakufu. Her name is Hakufu. Hakufu, she transferred to one of those schools because she wants to make a wish of her mother become true, which is unifying the 7 schools. But Hakufu and the other warriors of these schools, they have earrings called Magatama, which contains the soul of a draw this spirit out of the Magatama and fight using that. But the problem is also, because they do that, they are cursed with the fate of that warrior. Of course, the warrior inside of the Magatama is... So basically, they are not only fighting each other, and Hakufu is fighting to unify the schools, but they are also fighting against the fate of that character, because since they are using it, since they are embodying the soul of those warriors, they will end up eventually having the same fate as the warriors. Some of them will become kings, others will die horrible deaths. So that is basically the anime, but forget all of it, you just concentrate on the exploding clothing.
Damn right.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yep. Sure is.
And on that note, before we move on to our anime review of the episode, I would like to say, if you've enjoyed the episode so far, please head on over to iTunes or Stitcher and leave us a review. It's a nice free way to support the podcast. You can watch us live. We're moving to Saturdays now. That is going to be our thing every other week. And we'll be on Twitch, Mixer, YouTube, and now Periscope. So we're on basically the all of the four that matter.
Yay!
And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting outlets, be that Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, etc. from there. And now with that, I will play this drop, and that'll take us into our anime review.
Now, it's time we start dealing with the business at hand.
Okay.
All right. Can we take a short break before we get into the review?
Sure.
I just need to go to the toilet first. I'm just going to stop my recording here. And then I'll kind of just save it as part one.
Oh. All right.
I'll keep myself. I'll keep mine rolling.
Yeah, you do that. I'm just gonna stop it now, so that I can.
Yeah, because like the last part we did the part 1 and part 2 thing, it didn't work very well for me, so I'll just keep rolling.
Okay.
Alright.
I'll just keep
I'll
rolling
be
as well.
back real soon. Okay, seriously, don't do this to me now. There we go.
Don't save over it, Tori.
29, part 1. Save. And I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Gamescom is going on in Germany.
Is that right now?
Yeah. It starts today for like the press and tomorrow for the public, and goes until like 25 next Wednesday. Yeah, goes until Wednesday. I wonder if they will announce anything. The European game producers.
Yeah, I went to Gamescom when I lived there in 2009. I think that was the first year it was as well. Now that I think of it, let me see here. Yeah, its first year was 2009. Look at that. I'll have to pay attention to that now. Yeah, I thought it was in August. Why is it now? Why is it now in July?
Well, things changed since 2009.
Yeah, but it's always been in August. No, yeah, Gamescom 2018 will be August 21st to the 25th. It's not happening now.
Oh, it's not happening now? I thought it was
next month. It's August 21st. It's August 21st, not July 21st.
I thought it was today. Huh.
No, it's next month.
Well, that mixed up. I mean, Comic-Con is going on still.
I might as well go to
James Gunn fucked up. I hope what he announced he would be was the Nameless comic book and not Berserk.
right then. It's still saving.
I still need to look up the new meta for Idol Master Simulacros. Oh, why? Why put a new trade in the fucking idols? Doesn't make sense.
Because why not?
Like I'll have to get a new idol from this new season and see if they have the new trade points. Because if they do, that will make every single other idol for like every single one of the 600 cards useless. Because they will be way too weaker compared to the new ones. Fuck.
Right then, and then we go to
Also, the update today. Did you look it up to see if they stopped?
Yeah, I played a bit today. It doesn't stutter anymore. So that's nice. I don't have to deal with that anymore.
It is very smooth.
Yeah. No, I felt fucking like I went from fucking messing up so much. And I'm like, have I fucking turned this bad? Like over fucking night. And then it's like I noticed the fucking just complete freezes, and I'm like, nope, this is the game. And then it's like fucking to come back this today.
There's a big ass fly flying around my apartment now, and my cat is going literally insane in the other room.
Well, you know.
Quite funny. Alright, so, shall we continue this again?
Just let me, yeah, okay. Yeah, just count down.
3, 2, 1, go. Alright, we are back. And now is the time to talk about the anime that we'll be reviewing today. And it's a very special one. What is it, Tori? Please tell me.
Well, since you didn't care to listen to what I said at the start, what we're reviewing today is Future Boy Conan.
Yay!
Yeah, no one really cares.
Aww.
Nah, Future Boy Conan is fun, but I'll let JD handle this one since he really likes this show.
I do. Okay, let me pull up my notes here. So, it is by Nippon Animation. I quite like that studio. We may have yeah. Anyways, format was 26 episodes.
We may have.
Yeah. It aired from April 4th, 1978 to the 31st of August, 1978. And its director is Miyazaki Hayao. Maybe you've heard of this guy.
Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah, Miyazaki Hayao.
Hayao. Oh, Hayao.
Arguably his
this
biggest...
is the second time today, Toddy, please.
Arguably, this was his biggest project before he started directing movies, most notably for Studio Ghibli.
That happened later.
Yeah, well, this was his biggest project before that. Arguably. You could make the argument that Heidi was a bigger project. But anyways. A boy named Conan grows up on an island with an old man in a world that has been destroyed and left to regrow. While playing one day, Conan finds Lana, a girl escaping from the inhabitants of Industria, a city of people trying to recapture mankind's mechanical dominance over the world. Conan helps Lana escape from the island and embarks on an adventure to see and preserve the world. A very loose synopsis for the show, but it gets you an idea of how the show starts, and it grows from there. Just some very similar to the format of the last show. Pros and cons. I'd like to do some highlights of the show of what you guys liked, if you guys are up for that first.
Sure.
I really like the animation quality of this. I think based on what we've seen and based on research of what critics have seen, this was very high quality for the time. Arguably the best animation since Yamato, another anime we've covered on the cast. And we spoke very highly of the quality of that show for its time in '74 when it came out. So this came out 4 years later. And it definitely stood out, from rolling waves to moving backgrounds. The character art is very Studio Ghibli-esque. You can definitely tell Miyazaki had a lot of influence in that. And it works for the show. And I think having character designs the way they were able to have more detailed backgrounds, more things moving on screen a lot easier. I think the experience working on Heidi and how to work around, they could cut corners in better places, is how I looked at it for 1978. I think it had a good mixture of the pacing, with some episodes being action packed, while others would slow down for more character development or character focus with world views and what have you. That was more of a theme of the show to go along with no subtlety in this, where it's environmentalism, man versus nature. Probably the most to the point that you could get for Miyazaki. If you're not familiar, Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli, they're like every single Ghibli movie that Miyazaki has, it seems to be man versus nature is the theme. And Future Boy Conan here, you could say is, at least I would say, it's a 26 episode Studio Ghibli TV show. I thought the show's tone, as ridiculous as and unrealistic as it was, such as Conan being super strong and fast, more so than the average man, and Lana having kind of telepathy, being able to talk to animals and whatnot. Being that the show was aimed at children, I think the characters being very easy to understand and what have you. What you guys talking about here?
Just some agenda stuff that is getting.
Okay. Anyways, I liked how, even though the characters were their like traits were unrealistic, I think it fit to what made it fun as a child. It reminded me a lot of what Disney movies would try and do. You had the Goofy Island Boy and pirates and whatnot, so it had something for everybody. The evil villain bent on world domination was simple to understand. Like the plot of the show, even though in subtext and everything it was very deep, the main plot of the show could be very much easily enjoyed by a child. So it for sure, if I had a kid right now, like, this show would be something I would sit down and watch, because then I would have my stuff to enjoy from the show, and the kid would also have his stuff with the goofy Conan ripping cinder blocks out of walls while he's tied up and kind of stuff, squashing him and not dying. He's totally fine, no broken bones. It has a lot of goofy elements.
Is this a superhero show?
What, Hickey?
Is this a superhero show? Can we call it as a superhero show? Because Conan is.
Yeah, it kind of has the
super
spirit
strong
of that.
And super resistant and.
Well, it kind of has the spirit of that, where Lana.
And shit.
Well, it has the evil villain one, and Lana is the damsel in distress. And there are moments where her character shows some parts of strength, but really she is a lost person going through hard times. And here comes Conan, this kid who grew up on an island away from any sort of society, and he's just super naive and pure, just wanting to save her. So,
Conan, man.
Tori,
Conan, man.
what are some highlights for you?
Well, I mean, this is obviously very much a Miyazaki show. You can tell that in the way it plays out and just a lot of the themes. For me, a lot of the stuff that I like is kind of just visually related. You touched on it. The animation obviously is really good. That kind of as expected from a Miyazaki work. I especially like the whole you see stuff like he's used other places as well, like the kind of like, for example, the loop-on running cycle that they use. I love that, the one where it's like they hive their bodies up, fucking arms in 90-degree angle, and just the only thing that's like the head is bouncing up and down, and the only thing that's like going around is legs. And something comes, they just made that giant leap and like stuff like that. I think it's pretty silly, but I like that. You know, Miyazaki he did that a lot in Loop-on as well, especially in The Castle of Cagliostro, which came later.
Yep.
So,
a year later, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So stuff like that. It's always funny to see. It's like it's a nice little showcase of just, you know, his skill in animation, while at the same time being comedic enough to, like you said, being enjoyable for a child to see as well, because it's just goofy. Yeah, I did enjoy the show. It's I will say, I mean, obviously I'm not a child, so for me some of the some like more, to say child friendly, but like some of the more children focused episodes, or episodes that are more focused on child's enjoyment, kind of were a bit meh to me, but like just for the most part, seeing the kind of world develop and, you know, kind of getting that, like, you know, the island, and then you have where Lana's from, and you have Industria, and like that entire thing. It was an interesting show, although, you know, maybe a bit limited sometimes when it's just like get to Industria, leave Industria, back to Industria, leave Industria, back to Industria. Like, okay, I get it. That's like the only place you can go, kind of. But yeah, no, there's
you want to. Yeah, I get.
There's the island, I Harbor, and Industria.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of made sense in a way where, yeah, like Tori, you said that's the only place you can go, but you don't want to be there. So where do you go? The only two places you know.
usually back to pick up someone. Was kind of the deal there. That was when Conan man had to shine.
I liked how the show was in 2008.
Yeah, the distant future. You know, it's funny how that works, right? There's obviously, you know, especially now, which you will have a lot of cases, especially if you look at like old sci-fi and stuff like that, where it's just like, dude, imagine the future of 2013. It's like, what do you mean? Yeah.
The closest we're gonna get to super sex AI robots is in video games, but we're getting there. Maybe in 2 years.
I think we're pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but like just in general,
I mean,
it's a lighthearted show.
I'm not going to sprawl the nerd stuff. You can keep going.
All right. Now, like just in general, it's a pretty lighthearted show for all it is, but it does have some, you know, more serious messages, and just kind of it manages to pack a punch when it wants to, but just in general, it kind of tries to be, you know, more child friendly, which is kind of in line with Miyazaki's views. He kind of likes to make a lot of stuff more, not necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily say that he's always going for that, like, oh, this is meant for children, but like he does kind of want that. He seems to always kind of prefer that like family experience. Of like this can be enjoyed by people of all ages, rather than, oh no, this is hardcore, gruesome, 18 plus.
The other thing I quite enjoy about the premise of it, and it's very on the nose a lot of the time, is it opens up with saying that because this show took place in 1978, that was around the time where geotectonic plates were like being discovered in geology and geologic techniques. So the idea of world governments creating a machine to manipulate the tectonic plates of Earth, basically earthquake death machine,
Yeah.
causing water world essentially, and well, later in the show, as the show goes on, they hint at, you know, the tectonic plates are still fucked up, and the scientists are afraid like the next eruption's gonna happen, and
Yeah.
and how and it makes sense, and it totally makes sense in geologic theory, and I was really impressed with how simplified they kept it from that, because still there was a lot to discover and understand still, but they did understand that earthquake equals tsunami.
Yeah.
And that totally makes
damn.
sense in Waterworld.
When you said simplified, I didn't think it was that simplified.
Well, maybe it's because of my background. It was a simplified version, how I would describe
Yeah, I mean, that is just cause and effect.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
it's not even simplified. It's like, holy damn, if that is simplified, I must be awesome in geology as well.
Well, no, in that sense, you can go into a lot more than that, but
Yeah,
the
no,
show
I
didn't.
know.
The
I
show.
thought you were, I thought you'd talk about the features in the ground, and how the earthquakes were separating the tectonic plates, because you have failures in the tectonic plates, and how they were showing that happening.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to talk about that, and how they simplify that to an age where a lot of concepts and technologies were lost. They're like, fissure in the ground is bad, it's going to industry will sink. It's not about that kind of thing. I thought you were going to say that, and then you just...
I skipped a lot.
You're like, oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah, I skipped around. It's best, at least for the podcast, to not go into heavy geologic understandings of how it all works.
Nah.
So the cause and effect.
Let's break it down.
Yeah, let's break it. Let's forget about Conan. Let's talk about how the geology works in Conan. But yeah, Hickey, what are the highlights for the show for you?
I mean, talking a lot about the background things, and not talking about backgrounds in the show, like animation and music and whatnot. About the animation, the level of refinement of the techniques they use is very impressive. The stretch and pull technique, they use in the show is very advanced, very refined.
Yeah.
And it is interesting to watch. The animations, they also have a lot of preemptive frames, so you can prepare for the animation, and every single motion is very interesting to watch by itself. The music is very interesting. The music is very good. The pace is good, and the voice acting is very, very good as well, especially for Dice. I really like the voice acting on Dice. Which is the captain of the Barracuda. I love him, even though he has this pedophile, like this pedophilic feelings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, the more you keep saying this, the more I just keep, because my problem is that it's not that it's been very long since I've seen Future Boy Conan, but more recently than seeing Future Boy Conan, I saw Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water. And that is pretty fucking similar. So I'm just picturing these characters in my head when you're saying that. And then I catch myself like, no, wait, that guy was from Nadia. Hold on, no, wait. That's the equivalent from Nadia.
But is it the same voice actor?
I don't think so. I don't remember, actually.
Oh.
But like, it's just kind of funny because the shows are pretty similar. It's kind of like I told JD before. Nadia is kind of like... Nadia is Future Boy Conan, if, done by, not Hayao Miyazaki, but by Hideaki Anno. So the Eva guy.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I need to watch that show.
Yes, you do.
Good thing, yeah, we'll watch this show because we are reviewing it. The pace is very good. The characters are very interesting. Debatable choices they do sometimes, especially Dr. Law. The biggest problem I had with this show was probably I watched it after Watch It Done By. And although Future Boy Conan is more goofy, is towards children, it is earlier than Done By. A lot of the problems and goofy things that shouldn't be goofy in Done By, we pointed out in the Done By cast, also happen in Future Boy Conan, such as the lack of seatbelts in the airplanes.
Don't need seatbelts in airplanes.
No, they don't like scrap the seatbelts. They don't have seats in the fucking airplanes.
That's true.
It's like you have that Conan destroys like 2 seaplanes with a harpoon. So like a lot of the problems, also the back and forth, like you said, Tori, go to Industria, then escape Industria, then go back to Industria, then escape again, go to High Harbor, but then Dr. Lau wants to go back to Industria because he needs to warn people, but then people from Industria go to High Harbor because they need the weight, and some stuff happened, and they go back to Industria, and there's the end. The one-dimensional bad guy who just wants to conquer the world because fuck it, and use this advanced technology because fuck it. There's a lot of similarities with Done By that we pointed out, and we thought it was bad. And when I was watching Conan, I couldn't take my eyes off, and I had to point it out. But most of it gets diluted because it is a children's show. It is a children-centered show.
Right. It's the same thing but executed in a different way, and it doesn't come off as so.
Not in a different
cringy.
way. Usually they the same. They executed almost the same thing. But for example, no one dying. Usually no one dies in Future Boy Conan, but it's more acceptable because it's a children anime than it is in Done By. The lack of seat belts, it is fine in Future Boy Conan because it's towards a more younger audience, but that is not acceptable in Done By, which should be a high fantasy mecha thing.
Right.
But that's incorrect. Someone did die in Future Boy Conan.
That's right.
But I mean, oh come on, it was a plot point.
I don't disagree with that, but they still died.
A bunch of people died, but like a bunch of people died at the end when
At the beginning.
The beginning, one person died.
Yeah. I think that guy's more important than all the other people that died.
Oh, fuck. Damn.
Anyways.
But like, it wasn't a traumatic death. Like, fucking RPG exploded on his hands, and he was fine. He died from old age. It wasn't because of the.
Yeah, that was a little bit. Yeah, When I watched, I did watch the show.
He died from old age.
No, man, listen, everyone knows this. The Japanese, they either live forever or die young. But the only reason why he died at that age was because the fucking grenade. The RPG, no, man, the RPG triggered his old age. The RPG triggered his old age. He got old age syndrome because of the explosion.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
So I did rewatch the show.
But he got reincarnated. Like he got reincarnated in the underground people of Industria, so that's fine as well. He just reappears.
I love when they reuse character designs like that.
Yeah. So
like those problems, they are problems, but they were diluted because of the children nature of the show. Also, there are some. They hinted and used some parts of the animation as a metaphor to some very heavy stuff. And I was thinking if they actually did it or not. And, that kept bugging me out a lot of instances of the show where you're going to see a scene and at first it's nothing really important. But then when you start to think about it, and you start to think about the circumstances they are in, it is a little bit fucked up.
Oh yeah.
Such as the spanking in the boat.
Yeah, a lot of like think about how much culture and culture was lost yet maintained since the war to this now water world. That's how I was kind of looking at it, and yeah, the submarine scene was kind of interesting, where how children are treated compared to the adults and vice versa.
I can't get Naughty out of my head.
But it is very, 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 very good. It is a good anime.
It is.
So
a little bit too predictable sometimes.
Yeah,
but no, that comes with the story they were trying to tell.
Yeah, I don't really see. I don't see that as really that much of a problem. It's
it's not a problem. It is worth pointing out.
No, I know, but it's the same way. Like, you know, Lupin the Third is predictable, but that's also kind of the point.
Yeah, it is. It is something you. It is the cost to pay to tell that kind of story.
Yeah.
So I put a couple questions here.
All right.
Was the villain too one-dimensional, and do you think that hindered the experience?
I think it was too one-dimensional, yeah.
Because in terms of a Miyazaki movie that we've seen in Ghibli, his villains have a lot more to them. This one was just, I'm gonna, like you said, Tori, I'm gonna take over the world because fuck it. I think he was lacking. The second time through, I know exactly what you're talking about, Hickey, since we're just coming off watching Dunbine. I think that got me to look at the villain way differently than when I first watched the show. When I first watched the show, I didn't give a shit. I just thought bad guy, haha, because kids show.
My problem with him is not him being one-dimensional.
Okay.
Because although he was very one-dimensional, he is kind of a traitor.
A traitor to
because
what, mankind? Or Industria?
To Industria.
Okay.
And mankind. Because Industria, the High Council, which were the scientists, they didn't want war. They didn't want to revive the weapon. They wanted to have the solar energy and other energies because they lived in a world with those technologies, and they want to deliver that to make a better world again.
Mm-hmm.
And the villain, what is his name? It is a eccentric name. I won't remember. The villain, he gained the trust of that High Council and used them to get the technology, to repair the weapon, and then get the solar energy to power the weapon and dominate the war. Lepka, yeah, Lepka. Lepka did that. So like he's a traitor. He traded. He betrayed everyone at the end because he wanted to conquer the world. The problem is, so like, although he's one-dimensional when he's talking to himself and the main characters. But when we put the High Council and Industria as itself in the mix, he's not that one-dimensional. My problem with him is that they didn't explain him that much, so you don't have a lot of insight on why he wants to use the weapons or why he wants to dominate the world, and if he succeed at dominating the world, what is he gonna do after that?
Yeah, that was a question. That was a question I was asking myself the second time through the show. What is the long-term goal here?
It's not one-dimensional. He's one-dimensional he's a one-dimensional villain, but as a character, since he's also a traitor, he's not that one-dimensional. The problem is he's not well explained to the point where his motivations and overall character don't make sense. Not that doesn't make sense. It makes sense to the story they want to tell, but you don't care about it.
Well, I mean, here's kind of the thing, though. The way that I always looked at him is, I think he's kind of also meant to be this sort of like example of, you know, because it's mentioned kind of early on. It's like, even with how bad stuff is fucked up now, and even with all that shit that went down, and like people don't change, like until people only see what's in front of them and they don't change. And I think he's kind of the personification of that. He is still up, like kind of even knowing the fact that, you know, that technology has done this to the world, he's still upset with this idea that if I can just tame this, it can be mine, even though there's almost nothing left. It can be mine.
Yeah, it's yeah.
It is not good for the story. If they give him a motivation, be as shitty as you can to why he wants to do that, that would be fine. Like, he's the son of the guy who wanted to dominate the world for the first time, like in 20 years before, and so he wants to succeed where his father failed. I would be fine. I would be fine. Done. But Lepka is just a guy who wants to be a dick. The end. Because humans never change. Humans never change is one of the worst excuses you can have.
Nah, man. I think it works for children.
Yes, it is.
For a children's show, like, a villain like this is easy to understand. But for trying to tell a better... trying to tell a better story... no.
Yeah, but we're here talking about how the show is for children, but it's also very interesting for adults, because you have these subplots and they hint on in a lot of things. And then you have Lepka, which is just a second-grade villain.
Yeah.
Because he's doing things because he can.
The way I took
it, and humans never change.
Well, the way I took it was, he reminded me of a politician. And what's a politician's... Like, what's a corrupt politician's goal? He's out for himself at any cost, even at the cost of the people. He just wants power, people drunk on power. So he wants to bring... The way I got his motivation was he wants this technology to bring back humanity to a point of high-end and everyone's under his rule to control said technology as humanity advances yet again. And he wants to be the man remembered for that. Because, you know, you write history the way you want it to be written in the end.
History is written by the winners.
Right. It's not written by the losers. And he wants to be the winner. So that was how I... like. That's how I took it, to make this character not one-dimensional. And to me, that made sense. Maybe it wasn't too noticeable on screen. They probably could have done a better job with that to make that more noticeable. So, I like this other theme in the anime. It's about 3 kids seeing the world beyond their own homes and embracing it. Because you have Conan, Lana, and what's his name? Whimsy?
Jimshi.
Jimsy?
Jimshi. Jimshi.
Gypsy. Gypsy.
Yeah.
Gypsy.
So
no,
they're 3 totally different kids that grew up in 3 totally different places. Lana from Industria, Conan from a deserted island, and you had Jimsy, who is kind of like a wild boy, but he took himself out of society. So he's kind of feral in a lot of ways because no one taught him. I like their nuances. Like, Lana spoke very proper and she was very kind to people, while Conan was this goofball who used his feet like a monkey a lot of the times. And you have Jimsy, who's just this dude who carries a spear. He looks like he has a bone through his hair all the time, and he just wants to eat, and he's a goofball too, but in a different way. He's also very quick to anger, more like an animal. So the 3 of them kind of coming together and you can tell their reactions when they go to like High Harbor for the first time. Lana embraces it as a home, and Conan and Jimsy are like, "What the hell is this place?" Then they go to Industria for the first time. Lana is brought with horrible thoughts, and then Conan's brought with kind of an animalistic instinct, which reminded me of like one of the earlier episodes when he fought a shark underwater. As ridiculous as that sounds, he did. And it was awesome.
Oh, he did more ridiculous things.
It was awesome.
Rather than fighting.
So I really like,
because he has strong feet fingers. It is impressive.
We'll use his feet for everything. Even the front cover of the anime shows him like keeping his favorite harpoon upright with between his toes. So just simple things like that, really made the difference into understanding who these characters were, and seeing the world beyond their homes. Yeah, sure. Seeing the world beyond their homes. What did you guys think of this theme and how these three kids were portrayed in the anime?
Like the kind of adventure thing is, going to become pretty common. I mean, just look at any shonen.
Well, like, now, but it's not to this. Not to this extent.
I know, but that depends on the show. But
sure.
And I would say actually in a lot of cases it's more to this extent. But like the thing is, yes, that's kind of my point. Is you see this a lot now, and since kind of adventure has been like the go-to fucking, especially when it comes to children's shows, like the go-to thing. Like how awesome wasn't it, for people like me being young, sitting down watching Pokemon is about this 10-year-old kid who's going out into the world to catch Pokemon. It's like, whew, what a fucking badass he is. So it's like, yeah,
slave all the animals and make them fight for your will.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's the best. But yeah, and kind of seeing that brought up in Future Book Conan is nice, and you still have that, with the kids, they kind of varying degrees of understanding of the world. Conan knows nothing. Jimsy knows limited things.
Right.
Lana knows a lot, and it's kind of just seeing that both going out by their own will and kind of being forced, like Lana being kidnapped, and stranded and whatnot. So it's I don't know how to explain it. It's nice seeing, because I like adventures, as long as they're interesting, obviously. But like I kind of like the idea of. It's why, for example, just to bring up a very recent show as well, the Place Further Than the Universe, which is a show that came out not too long ago.
Okay.
I really like that, because that is kind of the exact same thing. It's like, don't just settle in for like your normal everyday life. Just kind of go out and challenge yourself and do something you normally wouldn't do. They go to Antarctica.
Oh my rubber man.
Oh my rubber man.
Yeah. So much has balls in that Place Further Than the Universe.
Nah, man, it's fine.
Future Boy Conan, keep going, please.
Yeah, no, but that's kind of my point, right? I like it. I really do. There's just something kind of refreshing. It's simple, but it works. Kind of just kids going out, essentially.
It reminded me a lot of the second time watching it, naturally, of Made in Abyss, of how they want to go to the abyss and traverse down to it, and each time they see something new, they react. And when I was watching Future Boy Conan,
that obviously takes a bit of a different turn.
Yeah, well, obviously.
But yeah, no. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Nadia, the Secret of Water.
Holy shit. Oh my god, the fucking Nadia episode will have 5 hours. I can feel it. I think it's good. Using kids for adventure titles is a good thing, because you don't need to use the amnesia trope,
right.
isekai trope, because they are kids. They don't know anything. They are naturally exploring the world. So yeah, it is very interesting. I guess the real big problem is how do you develop the kids after they are out in the world having those experiences? And Lana didn't have much of a development because she was just being thrown around and being kidnapped.
Yeah, kinda. I mean, she had her moments to shine. There was some scenes.
Yeah, she did, with the fucking, also calling done by now, the fucking psychic powers at the end. But no, yeah, she did have, but it wasn't how can I say, it wasn't by herself. Usually her character development was triggered by another character who was already developed. So she was kind of trying to catch up with Conan and Jimshi most of the times. Because, she didn't have that experience. Most of the time she was inside of a room. The one part she wasn't. It was in the desert part when they were savaging the shipwreck.
Right.
But she was sick. So most of the time she spent inside of a room resting. Conan, with being the White Knight type of character, he developed it in a predictable way, let's put it like that, which is not bad. Again, it's not bad because I really enjoy Conan growing up as a character, seeing the world, because he learns with his experiences. And he decides at the end that although people were bad, although, bad things happen and they're bad people, that doesn't mean I should be bad to those people as well. Such as he tries to save Lepka when the Giganto is falling on the ocean, for example. So he stays a White Knight, but he develops the White Knight kind of way of thinking, which is very good. He learns by the experiences. He can, at the first time, when he sees the woman who is always trying to catch him. Oh, I forgot her name as well.
Her name was Molesley. The first time Conan see Molesley, I think he hated her because technically she's the cause of death of his grandfather. And a lot of bad things that happened to Conan was due to Molesley actions. But later in the series, he has this empathy looking towards Molesley and wants to befriend her. And they start to have this friend relationship almost, developing to Molesley realizing that what Lepka was doing was bad and she didn't want to do that anymore because, we should think just like Conan. Jimmy Shee had the best development seeing the world. He went for a hunter to understanding that to a lone hunter that hated people because they would steal his food, to understanding it's not about hunting, it's not about people stealing your food, it's about sharing with others in a community and contributing to the community. So to raising pigs and breeding and raising pigs because he liked it and he understood that by doing that he would contribute to the society he just found out. It is very interesting, like not only the adventure part but how the characters develop, how they found their place
in the sense of having those adventures.
I like that.
You can what?
How they found their place in the world.
Oh yeah. Even Conan, although like I said, Conan is kind of predictable, but with the property he says he wants to build his home, he wants to build his village, and he wants to do that in the Remand Island. Like the property, he says that he wants that. It is very interesting, the development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wants to go back to the island that he grew up on in the end. Because that's what he knows best.
And dice is dice. It doesn't change.
No. Well, he's also, you know, you change more as
Well,
you
it
know
changes
as
a
we,
little bit. Let's
well
be sure.
as we spoke about it in Anna Green Gables on that podcast. You know, you grow as a character more as a child than you do as an adult. And
Yeah,
the show
obviously.
definitely does this in a very similar way. But
Because
what
it
this
didn't
show,
change. The only thing that changed was his focus.
So there were many scenes in this anime that were powerful, be it character moments or environmental moments, plot changing moments. But I'd like you guys to name a scene that impacted you in some way. Corey, why don't you go first?
See,
Because one really sticks out of my mind.
I'm really trying to think about one, but honestly, I can't find a scene that I think impacted me that much. Overall, it was an enjoyable experience, but I don't have like one scene that's like, oh yeah, that one. The only scene I remember was the mushroom scene. Oh no. And I'm never going to stop making that joke.
Jimshi, 10-year-old smoking and drinking.
What about you, Hickey?
No. That's the tsunami sequence.
The tsunami sequence at the end?
That one is, that one's very good.
Where all the sound kind of disappears. Just like a
you have a sneak peek of mostly. Yeah, you have the sneak peek of mostly Bast, as she was like she was like hit by a tsunami as well before when she was a kid. So like when she sees when she sees basically you have like Conan trying to alert everyone there's a tsunami coming.
Yeah, the big tidal wave.
And they need to go to high ground. The soldiers don't mostly threaten to shoot anyone that tries to leave. Conan defies her, goes out of the ship in front of her with a bunch of guys aiming guns at him, and at this point they wanted to kill him. And not saying a word, just staring at her with you're making a horrible mistake right now face.
Yeah.
She understands, and when she looks at the horizon and see the tsunami coming, she's just petrified because of the past, because of what happened in the past. And then you have, the characters saving Conan saving mostly, and they start having a more direct and impactful relationship. So it is a very turning point and very interesting scene.
Yeah, it definitely made the end of the show. It was a very good moment for that. For me,
what about you, JD? You also had that scene.
For me, it was when Conan and Lana were on the boat, and Conan has the weight attached to his feet, and he slips overboard, and Lana goes in and jumps in to save him, and he can't get the shackle loose, so she's given him air, and and because Conan and her develop this bond together, she refuses to go up. She keeps giving him air and keeps trying to get him loose, and he's shaking his head no, save yourself thing. And finally she just kind of goes belly up for a second there, and Conan freaks out and gets loose and brings her and they get out. It was very impactful. It was kind of that moment where they mean more to each other than just I met this chick on a beach.
Yeah.
You did.
So this show from beginning to end, it's a very easy watch. Even the second time, I noticed more nuances in the show the second time, like facial expressions the characters would use. I did notice there was a lot. There was a lack of music. It was always focused on machinery moving around or birds chirping in the back. Very subtle things to carry scenes instead of a full-on orchestra or J-pop's thing happening every 3 minutes.
Just to kind of throw shade at a lot of modern anime and just a lot of modern TV and movies in general. You don't need some sort of awesome kick-ass soundtrack like music for every single individual scene. Silence oftentimes speaks louder than words, as they say. It's like, if you want, there are sometimes it's kind of like you've seen it in certain, just to kind of, the one thing that comes to mind immediately is like Occultic 9. You have this like scene where the girl is like walking down this dark, empty hallway, and like the scene shifts to like first-person view as she's walking down, and then you hear like it's dark, you can't see, but all you can hear is like dripping water, her breath, and the noise of her footsteps as they like vibrate in the tight corridor, since it's just completely shut off and underground. And that's like that would be horrible if they started trying to play some spooky music in the background.
Mm-hmm. I think we talked about it before in the one episode, the value of the silence. If I'm not mistaken, I don't remember which one was.
Maybe
was
it
Even Her
Lane
Circumstances? Or Lane?
Yeah,
it
probably
was
either or.
We talked about how the silence is being underrated nowadays. The lack of music sometimes in Conan really makes the statement of the show kind of stronger, because have nature being interrupted by machine sounds a lot of times.
Yeah,
yep.
Especially in Industria.
And
I think there was a moment where both Conan and Jimsy are at Industria, and they look at each other at one point and they go, "I can't hear the ocean," or something.
Yeah.
And they thought they thought it was so weird. And then I believe Lana also, when she was tied up or whatever for the xth time, she goes, "I hate this place. I can't talk to the birds."
Yep.
The machineries
are
fucking up with
there's
it.
stuff like no, but it's just also kind of I know one of the reasons why as well. That's kind of had a change, and that is because in more common in modern anime as well, that like there are music groups and music companies that sponsor these things, and obviously they want to sell the soundtrack, so of course it needs music. But that wasn't really the case with or wasn't as common of a case with older anime.
The problem is not like putting music, I guess, in modern anime. The problem is not having a lot of music, a lot of background music, or wanting to sell OST because I buy a bunch of OST. I guess the problem is the way they use the OST and where they choose to put it.
Yeah.
Because if you want to sell, you also need to put it in a place where it is going to impress the person and sell the OST, which wouldn't be the case of an impactful scene. Sometimes needs silence or a abrupt cut in the OST that is playing that is also very effective. Sometimes they don't do that; they just let it roll. And I see what you're saying, that just let the OST loose is not the best. But yeah, so I guess modern anime should learn with older anime how to handle the OST. Because when Lana, Jimshi, and Conan were having fun, there was this upbeat, nice OST. When they were like being shot at, and running around, there was this also OST that would fit. But when they were having important dialogues, usually there was no OST, there was background noise. Which is that.
Yeah, I'm looking at
they should learn with that.
Yeah. I'm looking here at like the guy who's responsible for the sound director for it's Shigeharu. His name is Shigeharu Shiba. It's it's interesting because they don't have anybody listed as responsible for the music, apart from OPs and EDs and whatnot. But he is listed as the sound designer, and according to this, he was awarded a special award for his life work as a sound director at the 5th Animation Kobe Awards in 2000. So, good job.
There you go.
Learn with the master.
I'm ready. I'm ready to score this and get out of here.
Same.
Sure.
I think I'll just go first because I think it should come as no surprise. To me, this is one of the quintessential animes of the 70s. It needs to be watched by all anime fans, including Anne of Green Gable. Green Gables.
Katie's gonna give it a 2.
It gets another masterpiece 10 for me.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Damn. Is that the second one? Where's the third one?
Well, I think this one shouldn't count for me because I went into this with a 10 already. So.
Damn. Shit.
Yeah.
Tori, your score.
Hold on. Why do I have to go next now? Yeah, no, I enjoy the show. I'm not quite there on the love letter to the show as JD is, but it's a good show. Absolutely, and I do think it's worth watching. I also kind of have the negative of not being a very big fan of Hayao Miyazaki, and his themes don't really speak to me. So, but it's a good show, and I give it a 7.
Alrighty.
Cool.
Hickey?
I'm debating between an 8 and a 9.
Oh damn.
I think you should.
Because I really enjoy the show. I really enjoy when the show uses the time it has to tell a story, and don't try to go over the boundaries of the time they have. Stuff like that. But there's some issues I had with the story. The fact they kept going in circles, the psychic powers, the superpowers Conan had, those kind of things. I know they for children, but for me, I think it should be more believable, even though it's for children. So like Lana is sprouting psychic powers out of nowhere, and
they kind of established
being able to see psychic specters after he's blind. Those kind of things at the end. I think there was better ways of finishing the series. It shouldn't stood so low to finish the story. Letka not having a proper excuse to be a villain. Those kind of things. So like, I'm debating if I gave it a 2 or a 1 in the story. So between an 8 or a 9. It's like 8.5. I'll give this shit 8.5. I don't care.
In between. So I think that's exactly in between me and Tori's score. So that's a very good score for Future Boy Conan 1978. Fantastic. Good suggestion, Tori, I must say. You're sure filled with a lot of them.
Nadia, no.
Yeah, someone has to come up with good shows.
Well, Nadia
is good. How dare you?
Nadia is on the docket for the future for sure. I'm looking forward to watching that, especially. And, so, Hickey, have you taken a gander at the docket for future episodes?
Yeah. Okay. Saw them.
What do you think?
It's going to be very interesting what we have planned. The anime we have planned.
All right, good.
I still need to put.
And what do we have planned for next time?
What do we have planned for next time? I don't have it up in front of me right now.
Me neither.
Me neither.
Oh, damn it!
Shit.
All right, well, keep you in suspense.
Keep in suspense.
Yeah.
So this has been anime episode 29 of the Red Leaf Retrocast. Definitely come and check us out on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. If you enjoyed the episode, please, again, leave us a review on either Stitcher or iTunes. Read it on the podcast. Love feedback of any kind. And go ahead and suggest some anime for us to review. Otherwise, we got to do it ourselves.
And look forward to the next episode, which will be where we will discuss Record of Lotus War.
There you go.
Ooh.
Thank you for joining us. We look forward to the next one.
Peace.
Goodbye.
Beautiful. Ah, naturally we
Making
get
this look the
a bunch
microphone
of
is so fucking good. Holy shit!
your new microphone.
Yeah, I bought a new microphone.
What kind is it?
It is standing right in front of me.
Ah, super fun. So this episode will be out on Monday.
Monday.
Montag. Oh,
Moontog. Not even.
that was our longest one in quite some time.
Yeah, I was expecting that because that's kind of also why. As long as we can avoid it. As long as we can avoid it, we should not have
almost 4 hours.
Yeah. No, but as long as we can avoid it, we need to not have a spring review and a summer
we had
in the same episode.
We basically had a 10-minute break as well, so it's 3.5, which is about the length of the last couple podcasts.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, we could have skipped the summer thing and just waited the mid review.
Could have, but I kind of wanted to get it out, but it depends. I either wanted to get it out, or
you just want to talk about assholes, people being assholes to each other.
Of course, that's the best part.
Oh, there goes the rest of our listeners there.
Oh, they don't care anymore. I'm lying. They probably never cared.
They never cared about us. All right, I'm ending the stream officially.
Yay.